MBTA's Adam Reilly and Callie Crossley, and Live Music Friday featuring Puerto Rican singer, drummer, and composer David Rivera ahead of a show at Regattabar.
I'm Marjorie Egan. Then for the noontime hour, it's the Ted Lasso of the MBTA, Phil Eng. He's the T's General Manager and Interim Secretary of Transportation, here to take our questions and yours on all things trains, planes, roads, bridges, and more. Call or text Phil Eng, or if you're near Copley Square, come to ask him in person. That's all coming up on BPR, live from the Boston Public Library.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Corva Coleman. The war against Iran continues. The Pentagon says U.S. forces are destroying Iranian naval targets that threaten international shipping. That includes the very narrow Strait of Hormuz. But Iran is continuing to attack neighboring Arab countries. Officials in Kuwait say Iranian drones hit one of their oil refineries today, sparking a fire. Iran says the top spokesman for its powerful Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, was killed today in a strike. Meanwhile, NPR's Emily Fang is on Turkey's border with Iran, speaking to Iranians who say they have mixed feelings about joint U.S. and Israeli strikes on their country.
An estimated hundreds of Iranians are crossing into Turkey each day, some to escape bombing, others simply to connect to internet, which the government has blocked in Iran. This man, speaking on condition of anonymity for fear of being arrested, said people are trying to live normally in Iran despite the bombing. He says he hopes the strikes can topple his government, but he mourns for the civilians killed in the strike. Israel said it had killed the IRGC's top spokesperson Ali Mohammed Naini overnight in an airstrike, and joint U.S. and Israeli strikes also killed a senior commander in the IRGC, as well as Iran's security chief Ali Larijani this week. Emily Fang, NPR News, Van, Turkey.
The Trump administration is giving the go-ahead for local TV station owner Nexstar to purchase stations from its rival, Tegna. But NPR's David Folkenflik reports a group of state attorneys general is suing to block the deal.
If consummated, Nexstar would own 259 stations in 44 states in the District of Columbia. The Federal Communications Commission waived its rules to allow Nexstar to reach 80% of U.S. households, more than doubling the current allowed figure. The commission didn't even have a public debate or a vote. Its lone Democrat condemned the decision. FCC Chair Brendan Carr argues the move will ensure the viability of local stations. Carr said he wants to strengthen the hand of local station owners against national networks. As it sought approval, Nexstar backed Carr's attacks on ABC late-night host Jimmy Kimmel and mocked CNN in an ad campaign. The Justice Department also signed off on the deal. David Folkenflik, NPR News.
The Trump administration has sued Harvard University again, this time over alleged failures to protect Jewish and Israeli students. This lawsuit is demanding that Harvard return billions of dollars of taxpayer money. The Trump administration has already filed other lawsuits against Harvard for alleged wrongdoing. Action star Chuck Norris has died at the age of 86, according to an online statement from his family. Norris was hospitalized yesterday in Hawaii for an undetermined issue. He began his career as a martial arts instructor. Norris went on to make action films that grossed more than $500 million. He once appeared in an action film opposing legendary late Bruce Lee. He later moved to the series Walker, Texas Ranger. This is NPR. The National Weather Service has issued flash flood warnings for the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Officials in Honolulu County are telling people in the northern part of Oahu to get to higher ground now. A new survey finds most Americans do not see gambling on sports as a moral issue. That is in sharp contrast to people in other countries, as Fiona Murphy with the Religion News Service reports.
Sports betting has taken off across the U.S., with Americans wagering about $170 billion in 2025. This week, as college basketball fans place their bets on March Madness, a new survey from the Pew Research Center finds that just 3 in 10 Americans say gambling is morally wrong. Half say it's not a moral issue at all. The survey asked about attitudes towards gambling generally and did not distinguish between compulsive and casual gambling. Still, that's a sharp contrast from countries like Indonesia, India, and Italy, where more than 70% of people view gambling as immoral. Of the 25 countries surveyed, only Canadians were more accepting of gambling than Americans. American men and women are equally likely to say gambling is wrong. For NPR News, I'm Fiona Murphy in New York.
16 more games get underway next hour in the NCAA Men's Division I basketball tournament. Several teams are seeking their first ever win in tournament history. including the University of Akron, who faced Texas Tech today. Yesterday, the University of Nebraska defeated Troy University 76-47 for its school's first ever tournament win. They had previously been in the tournament 8 times. I'm Corva Coleman, NPR News in Washington.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include BritBox, dedicated to offering viewers the opportunity to see it differently with British TV, streaming original series, Jane Austen dramas, Agatha Christie mysteries, and more at BritBox.com.
Houston Browdy, I am Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR and GBH and NEPM. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library and streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Big treat today. Phil Eng is here at 12:06 to take our questions and yours. He, of course, runs the T. He's also the temporary Secretary of Transportation. And 2 more dates actually 3 more dates. Wednesday, March 25th, the Attorney General is here at the library at 11. Also at 11 on the 27th of March, Governor Moore Healey will be here. And the last date is, you had a date last night to watch the return of the Andres Nelsons to the Boston Symphony. They called him a hero's welcome, as the earlier headline in the Globe.
It was fabulous. It was just, I was so thrilled to be here. He did get a hero's welcome. So did the whole orchestra. Endless standing ovations throughout. Everybody, a beautiful touch. Everybody in the orchestra, including Andres Nelson, the music director, wore a red flower. I didn't know why. I figured it was an act of solidarity. Turns out red is the primary color of the Latvian flag, and Andres is from Latvia.
Yeah.
So that was a tribute. It was a beautiful thing. And as the Globe's review said, the orchestra was just spectacular. There's this 21-year-old pianist from South Korea who won the Van Cliburn competition when he was 18 years old.
Yoon Chan Lim.
Yes, and he was just absolutely... So the whole thing was great. I promised you, yesterday, for those who are following this saga of this important institution and this wonderful, talented man, Andres Nelsons, after his contract was terminated effective next summer, I promised you an update on the meeting between the musicians and the board yesterday, but we're going to do it Monday instead, because we'll try to get more updates and we'll bring up to speed. But for the moment, last night was beautiful. Good. Give an opportunity to go to the BSO and see them and the pianist who's there for the next few days. I would urge you to do it and show your support in any case. So we're going to take a 1-day break from the war because it's beautiful out today, and because exactly 22 minutes ago, the vernal equinox, whatever that means, officially came, and spring is here. So we love spring, but why does everything feel just a little bit off? Sure, the weather's getting nicer, and Sullivan's on Castle Island is open. But have you seen the price of a lobster roll? Yesterday in the Boston Globe, they said they're approaching $50 in some places. Spring's also a great time for a nice little weekend road trip, except for the fact that gas costs an arm and a leg. Right now, $3.91 average as of this morning, $4 obviously by the weekend. And if you're thinking of skipping town for spring break, well, because of a partial government shutdown, the TSA lines at airports are insanely long. The CNN headline a minute ago is frustrated flyers brace for massive security delays. And Marty and I have advice, which I hope you appreciate.
What is our advice, Jim?
If you're flying tomorrow, go to the airport now. That's, I think... And just sleep on a bench is the bottom line. Just at Roger Berkowitz Legal Seafoods, don't they have lobster rolls out there at the airport now? He just opened up. You have a couple of lobster rolls. I don't know how much his are. They're not $50. So in any case, we're opening the lines for, I guess, a BPR kind of welcome to spring. Marjorie and I love spring. We want to know what your primary joys are. What really does it for you when spring comes? Your primary joys. And whether $4 gas... endless lines at the airport and $50 lobster rolls may inhibit your joy. Got to get that in. One more thing. This is for Marjorie. She wants to outsource a question for a friend. Of course, we're trying to have a staff meeting this morning. It's like every morning. Everybody in the staff meeting is talking about one thing, and then there's Marjorie. And what Marjorie, of course, is talking about and asking repeatedly, when do you rake the leaves off the crocuses? She wants to know. Well, so if the garden lady or David Epstein are listening, we need your growing wisdom for the seasonal change. All things about spring, the down and the upsides. We're going to try to have a tad of joy to start today's show. 877-301-897. And I should also say, speaking of joy, I mentioned being at the BSO last night. David Rivera and his bandmates are going to be playing for us in about 30 minutes, and they are spectacular. 877-301-8097.
Okay, I just want to get in here. Why don't we start with your primary joys for the season?
Well, I say it every year, and when I say it, you ridicule me, so why would I say it? You want me to say it?
What?
You got to promise you won't ridicule me.
Okay.
When you walk up the ramp at Fenway for the first time, and you see the green, and you sit in your seat, which I don't fit in, as we know. We've discussed that 40 times. I squeeze, sort of plop down, so eventually I fit in the seat. And then you hear the crack of the bat for the first time. It isn't even that I'm I like baseball. It's just the feel. It really is quite great. So that's the thing for me. What is it for you?
The leaves are an issue because, that we've been told now we're not supposed to rake all the leaves in the fall because they're supposed to sit kind of like a mulching kind of thing on top of your grass or your dirt or whatever you have.
Fine.
So
whatever you have.
Now they're kind of a messy, gluey, gunky thing on the little front part of my house. So I'm wondering, should you rake them now, or should you wait and will the croci be able to
Can I say something else? Because no one cares about
with all
the
those heavy leaves.
Okay, one last thing here. Did you hear? I wasn't going to do this, but I can't control myself. Speaking of gas prices, average nationally, we're lower in Massachusetts a little. $3.91 nationally as of this morning. It's going to go to $4 or more this weekend. Do you hear what Trump's line was? 4 idiots, with the old due respect, from an idiot, in the Oval Office yesterday saying, I expected them to be much higher. So this is not a problem. In fact, they've gone up almost $1 in, what is it, how many days we've been at war? 14 days?
28th of
whatever the hell
February,
it is. Well, 3 weeks, actually. It's 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Right. It's so insulting to the intelligence and pocketbook
I liked his line
to the people in this country. What?
The TSA workers, line the TSA workers.
What did he say?
He said, go to work.
Yeah, that's good. That's
a lot of them have not gotten, last Friday they missed their first full paycheck. And, some of them have been evicted already. You think they'd be able to negotiate with the landlords and say, hey, I'm part of the government shutdown here. But because of the TSA workers being not being paid, and because so many of them had to quit to get other jobs or else work second jobs, the lines are ridiculous at the airport. You have these poor people that were like got to the airport 4 and 5 hours early, and they miss their flights, and they're standing in line for an hour and a half, 2 hours out. That'd be good if you had a couple of kids with you trying to stand in that line all that time.
They behave very well
to get to your flight that you may not even get because it's going to be shut down. So
so you can talk about the economic pain of the season if you choose. You can talk about the joy of the season. The number is 877-301-8097. And if you want to help Marjorie with the leaf question, call 800 Forget About It. That is the special number we've created today to address Marjorie's selfish concern.
Here's a nice
What's
one.
that?
It's kind of in your kind of way of sort of the beauty of walking into Fenway Park.
Yeah.
Heidi from Lynn is waiting to hear the ice cream truck come around in the neighborhood, that weird sound that the ice cream truck makes.
What's that called? Calliope? Is that what it is?
Something like that.
Yeah.
877-301-8097 is the number. Let's start with Fran from Acton. What do you think, Fran?
Hello, Fran.
Good morning.
Hi.
My joy this year is 2 years ago, for my birthday, which is in October, my husband planted 100 daffodil bulbs.
Oh, that's
2 years ago. So last year we saw 100 daffodils come up, and then this year for my birthday in October, this past year, he planted another 100 daffodil bulbs.
Wow.
So what we've been doing every morning when we go to the our coffee house around the corner at 8 o'clock, he counts how many have poked through the ground.
That is great.
So the great joy right now is counting how many have come up and the anticipation of 200 in bloom.
That's
so
beautiful.
That's our current spring.
Okay.
Now, does it bother you or your husband that daffodils are now $117 a bulb?
Yes. Well, it's a good thing we planted them early.
Hey, Fran, What did you do about the leaves? Do you have any leaves on your lawn or dirt or wherever you plant the daffodils, or are they already gone?
Yes, we keep the leaves because my husband feels there are all kinds of little creatures in there that are still needing to, keep warm. And
so have the daffodils grown right through the leaves? They're not hampered by the leaves?
Oh, yes.
Oh, good.
They're very powerful.
All right, they're very powerful.
Right through, yes. Yeah.
Okay, I have a lot of new bulbs this year myself.
Tell your husband he's a romantic.
That is very romantic. Yeah. And the other question is, how close together do you put the bulbs? I think you're supposed to put them very close together. So you see it in time for the marathon. You see all the daffodil bulbs up and down Commonwealth Avenue and Beacon Street. That's really pretty. They have tulips there too. Sam, that's really something to look forward to, Jim.
Yeah.
Sam and Stoughton, thank you for calling.
Hello, Sam and Stoughton.
Hi, nice to talk to you guys. So my name is Sam. I'm a podiatrist out in Canton, Mass. Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Thank you.
Just want to say I love you guys. I've listened to you guys for several years.
Appreciate it.
But yeah, so I want to say with spring, what I like about it is, when I leave work during the winter time, get to work, it's pitch dark. You leave work, it's pitch dark. So it's nice now. You leave work, you can do stuff, everybody's in a much better mood. And once you start seeing the flowers bloom, it just makes everybody in a much better mood.
Let me ask you about light at the end of the day. Who do you admire more? People who relentlessly advocate for year-round daylight saving time, or people who complain when people advocate for year-round saving time, Sam?
I feel like being in Massachusetts, we're very good at complaining. So whether it's, the winter time is too cold, it gets dark.
Yeah.
I feel like I find I end up complaining in both times of the year.
Sam, you have much better attitude. Thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Jim from Wakefield says, I'm getting so tired of winning under Trump. That is true. It really has been hard to all the winning.
Well, not everybody views it that way. We just have somebody who just said, who is, I can't find it now, complaining about Trump. Complaining about Biden, but I can't find it now.
So here, by the way, we have two people who are not critical. They're very pleased, obviously, with what Trump's doing with the economy. Anonymous texter, $3.24 here in Middleborough, still cheaper than Biden-Kamala gas. Anonymous texter number 2, gas is still lower than when Auto Pen Biden was in charge as far as lines at the airport. You can thank the Democrats who are still taking paychecks. Well, they are taking paychecks, but some would argue they're standing for something that really matters.
Well, I think the Republicans are still taking paychecks.
Well, of course they are. And the Republicans who are standing in the way of the American people being able to see an ICE agent's face and have an ID on his or her body so you know who it is who's kidnapping your neighbor.
Or have a warrant when they come into your house to drag you out.
Well, Mullen, I think, I don't know the details.
He was leaning toward it.
He seems to be leaning towards going for warrants.
Okay, Ryan from Wales, Massachusetts is upset about the price of gas. He said, the joy of spring used to be fishing, but due to the cost of gas, I'll have to stock trout in my bathtub.
By the way, we're making light of this because we're trying to stay in a good mood for a few minutes today other than our usual show. $4 a gallon is a huge amount of money at a time when driving increases mostly for pleasure for, low and middle income people in this country. And again, if Trump could bring himself to just say straight, I know prices are up a lot. I know it makes it unaffordable, and then do the thing. It's short-lived. It's whatever. We have an expert coming next week on gas prices to tell us whether or not when this war is over, if prices are going to drop precipitously and quickly, as Trump is suggesting. Show some empathy for people having a hard time with it. You know,
one of my kids is taking a long trip this weekend, and she was asking to borrow my car. I have a hybrid.
And bright blue.
Yeah, bright blue, that's right. Because they have an electric car. It's not a Tesla, and it's more of a pain in the neck to charge. And they get 2 little kids. Mm-hmm. But after this week, with the price of gas, they've decided to just take the electric car instead, because it would be so expensive, even with a hybrid, to drive that far.
I've gone long trips, by the way, on the EV, and you do a little planning.
You have to plan. You have to plan ahead. It's just when you get little kids, there are pains in the neck to be at the charging place.
Anonymous texter, I'm sorry, you go ahead.
That's what I was going to say.
You do it.
One that said they just got their heating bill, and it was over $1,000. Wow. Thanks.
You didn't read the second half.
Thanks for this pointless war, Donald Duck.
Yeah.
That's what he said. Terry in Jamaica Plain. Hi, Terry.
Hi, Jim. Hi, Margie.
Hi, Terry.
Thank you for calling.
Oh, pleasure. And happy spring to both of you.
To you, too.
So my springtime happiness is that of St. Patty's Day, I have a new girlfriend.
Oh.
And there's nothing like love in the springtime.
That's great.
Very romantic, Terry.
Does she feel the same way or
77
not?
years old,
What?
and this is the second springtime for me.
Wow, that's lovely.
It is lovely.
Did you meet on Hinge? Where'd you meet?
Pardon me?
Terry, did we wake you? You know, you called us. You know that?
I wonder what if you went on a dating website like
How'd
Tinder.
you find her?
Oh.
How'd she find you?
You're right, I did.
Yep.
I looked at hundreds of profiles,
Yeah.
and I found Ruth.
There you go.
That's
our best to
beautiful.
you and our best to Ruth. That's a very romantic
That's great.
story.
Terry, thank
you can
you
go
for
to
the call. Good
Arnold
luck.
Arboretum with your new girlfriend because several people are writing about the lilacs at the Arnold Arboretum.
When did lilacs
Best
come, by
Harbinger.
the way? When do they come?
I think it's a while. I think it's May.
That
isn't
is
it?
about. It is so beautiful.
When they
It's
when they have
incredible.
those, but you have to. It's really a mob scene. They have Lilac Sunday. I think they try to plan it around Mother's Day, but it's really crowded. So you have to get there early.
See Chris in Cambridge. Chris in Cambridge, you here today or another? Not here today. Chris in Cambridge says, my spring joy, riding my bike in a T-shirt to the library to see the show live.
Oh,
That's
listen to
pretty
this.
good.
The lilacs aren't blooming yet, but the witch hazel is very fragrant and makes for a lovely walk through the arboretum, says Zoe.
Witch hazel's a plant?
I didn't know that. I thought it was stuff you put on a cut.
It is, but how does
Yeah.
it get there? Think it grows in a bottle? I mean, I have no
don't
idea
know.
where it comes from either.
Tricia from Gloucester. What do you think, Tricia?
Hello, Tricia. We're talking spring. Welcome.
Yeah, you guys were reminding me. I'm just. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi.
We're here.
Hi. You were reminding me of my days at Fenway when I used to do all the hand lettering at Fenway Park.
What does that mean? Wait, what does that mean?
So that means, I did the FW Web and the Granite City Electric on the Green Monster by hand. And, the big Gulf logo out in left field. I used to do, all the hand-painted stuff that they wanted done when they were doing the big expansion of the park.
Yeah.
So, sorry, I'm hearing an echo of my voice.
No,
but,
I'm really
it's annoying,
sorry.
But anyway,
That
that's
was
okay,
that
not
was
your fault. I
fixed,
think
so
it's
you
my
can't
car.
possibly be hearing it. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, we fixed that.
No, let's
we
not.
were shut down for
Let's
3
not.
weeks.
Let's not. Go ahead. You keep going.
It was crazy being in there in the spring. It was freezing and it was chaos. But Larry Lucchino was so great to work with, and he'd always give us tickets, not for opening day, of course, because we were the peon workers, but. My dad would help, and my dad was from Dublin, and he would come in. He had been in the Painters Union, and he would help me. And my husband, who can do anything, would come in and help. And they'd give us about 3 months worth of work and 3 weeks to do it. And sometimes I'd be there overnight. And one time nearly backed up and ran over Dice Day, not on purpose.
That would have been a problem.
But
yeah.
So anyway, it was
That's
it
great.
was great
Tricia,
to be there in springtime.
Tricia,
Yeah.
before you go, are you still hearing the echo?
I am.
You
Let me
are?
see. No, not. Yes, I am.
That's too
Perfect.
bad.
Sorry.
We shut
Tricia,
down for
thanks.
like days to get
Thanks
rid
for
of the
calling
echo.
your story. Well, yeah, it's worth it. It'll get fixed.
Couple of weeks, I think.
It'll get fixed. It'll be good. Okay, 877-3001.
We were echoless for a while.
Let's not. Really.
Molly from West Newbury. Hi, Molly.
Hi, Molly.
Hi.
Hello.
I'm thankful that the ground isn't covered with snow.
Yeah, we are too.
My first sign of spring is when the forsythia starts to pop.
Oh, that's a good
Yeah.
one. Forsythia, the big
What do they
yellow
look like
forsythia.
again? What do they look like?
They're big yellow bushes.
Yellow bushes. Okay.
And you can get really pretty
I like
forsythia
these too. Okay.
wreaths, I should say, for your
Okay.
door, not wreaths. Molly, thank you very much for the call.
By the way,
that's a good
we
one.
have a YouTube poll. Do you know this?
We have a YouTube poll. It's 52%
so far say it's time to
to
rake the leaves off the
crocuses.
crocuses.
Yeah, well, I'm concerned, but the previous caller said that her daffodils just powered right through
Well, she's one
the
of the
wet leaves and all.
48%.
They're really wet and thick this year because of all the snow. But that's supposed to be really good for the flora and fauna, Jim.
You know it's supposed to snow next week, one day. Do you know that? But it
Well, that's okay.
disappears
It's not going to
relatively quickly,
stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, look at this. Is actually a
Yeah.
beautiful one. David from Holliston. My favorite part of spring is when the black flies come out and bite the crap out of my head when I'm trying to take my dog for a nice, peaceful walk. That's a beautiful like entry in the spring.
You see the one underneath from Carol from Shelburne Falls?
I chose not to read that, actually. I did. Why? Well, I can't read it. What does it say?
Carol from Shelburne Falls says, I'm enjoying the spring since Jim finally is being kinder and gentler with Marjorie. Oh, wait, never mind.
Thank you. What's that the music for, that favorite show of yours? What's that?
I don't know.
SIB or BUR?
I don't know. Chris and Rosendale.
Okay. Guy Chris, how are you?
Oh, hi. How are you guys?
We're quite well, thank you.
Yeah, I know gas prices are high, but my family live in the UK, and they're currently at $7 a gallon.
Oh, my God.
So I get a lot of angry messages this morning about all the stuff because they're really paying for it as well.
And how are they changing their behavior as a result of those kinds of prices, Chris?
They stay indoors more.
It's horrible.
So
I think
don't go out as much.
Don't we have lowest gas? Isn't the United States one of the lowest prices for gas anywhere? Which is why when you go to Europe, you see all the little teeny tiny cars. I mean, people aren't driving these huge SUVs around much of Europe or the UK. I don't think, are they, Chris?
No, that's right. They have smaller cars.
Yeah.
But it's funny when they come and visit. I take them to the gas station to fill up my car, and they just can't believe how cheap it is to fill up the tank here.
Yeah.
But on the upside, Chris, to paraphrase Conan O'Brien from the Oscars the other night, at least they arrest people who had something to do with Epstein. So that offsets some of the financial pain. Thank you for
Listen
your
to
call.
this.
Say hi to your family. Yeah.
Philippe from Cohasset says, I'm a garden designer focused on eco-friendly gardens. Keep the leaves on the garden beds for better soil and habitat, for native wildlife, some of the native bees, fireflies, etc., that winter in the leaves and hollow stems.
Can I say something that I asked you not to ridicule me at the beginning, and I think you forgot to ridicule me? How great does it feel, even though this is going to be the warmest day for a few days, when you know that spring is officially here, which is now
spring.
Exactly 40 minutes. Is that not a great, like a soul-releasing something kind of deal?
Well, it's because we're heading into summer, and if you love warm weather,
which we
it's
do.
beautiful, and the days being later, thanks to daylight saving time.
Saving. That is correct. There's no
Barbara
else.
from Falmouth. What do you think, Barbara?
Hi, Barbara.
I'm going to be able to test touchless pre-check at Logan, touchless pre-check at O'Hare.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to drive from Minnesota with my best friend back to the Cape, and I'll be able to call you on Wednesday and tell you what that ended up costing across country.
Oh, that's a good one.
So,
what kind
of? It's going to be quite the experience.
What kind of car are you driving in, Barbara? Is it a big car, a little car?
It's an SUV. It's an SUV, a Honda. Yep. And she's been staying in Minnesota with her daughter, and I'm going out to help her drive back. And it will be very interesting to see what the gas prices are.
So, Barbara, we're out of time. Are you selling the house to pay for the gas before the trip or after the trip? When do you decide to do?
I know. Can you imagine?
Barbara, text us or email us when you get to the Cape. We're dying to hear how it went. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barbara.
For the
Sounds
call.
like a great trip, though.
Yeah.
Okay, coming up after a quick break, and thank you for all your calls or texts. We're sorry I couldn't get to them all. Is our Press Play segment, Media Analysis with GBH's Adam Reilly and Callie Crossley. Later in the show, as I said before, Phil Eng is here to talk about roads and bridges and trains and planes. He, of course, runs the MBTA.
He does.
Yes, he does.
So what's coming up next, did you say? Press Play?
Press Play.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm staying around for it.
Okay,
It's spring.
Jim, that's good.
Thank you.
He's Jim Browdy. I'm Marjorie Egan. You're listening to BPR, GBH, and NEPM live from the BPL, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
The weekend is coming with stories.
My family took an extreme camping trip. It was like Swiss Family Robinson meets Lord of the Flies.
Gardening.
I never worry about aphids on milkweed. Ladybugs eat aphids. A lot of things do.
And DIY delights.
What are some of the environmental issues with lead paint?
I've got hundreds of pounds of lead on my house. Do I really want the painter to come down and blow it all over the neighborhood?
That's how we do weekends on GBH 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Babson College, where you can advance your career with an MBA or specialized master's at the school ranked #2 best college in the United States by the Wall Street Journal 2025. babson.edu/grad programs. And Biogen. For nearly 50 years, Biogen has been committed to advancing biotechnology innovations to develop new medicines for people with hard-to-treat diseases. Biogen, making breakthroughs happen. Biogen.com.
Welcome back to BPR with on GBH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live from the library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. Fabulous music from David Rivera and La Bámbula in about 20 minutes. Phil Eng, the general manager of the T and the acting Secretary of Transportation, is here at noon for an hour to take all your transportation questions, not your trans questions, as Marjorie said yesterday. That's for another day. Attorney Maybe he will. You don't know what he's prepared for. Attorney General's here on Wednesday for an hour. The governor here next Friday, both at the library for an hour. Time for our Press Play Media Analysis segment. Joining us today are GBH's Callie Crossley and Adam Reilly. Callie, of course, is the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley. You can catch that Sunday nights right here on 89.7 at 6 and on the Culture Show's Week in Review every Friday live right here at the library. Adam is a political reporter at GBH, used to write the Don't Quote Me media column for the late alternate weekly, The Great, Great Boston Phoenix. Callie, Adam, it's great to see you both.
Hello. Okay.
Hello.
Well, let's start with probably the most even-keeled guy in the cabinet of Donald Trump, the cool, calm, and collected Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Here he is, using his morning war briefing to trash the media for doing their jobs and scare the hell out of the rest of us trying to report on the U.S. military.
A dishonest and anti-Trump press will stop at nothing. We know this at this point. To downplay progress, amplify every cost, and call into question every step. Sadly, TDS is in their DNA. They want President Trump to fail.
That's incredible.
But you, the American people, know better. Yes, there are reporters in front of me, but they are not our audience today.
Enough of him.
It's
I
you,
can't
the
listen.
good.
He made his point. Go ahead.
Yeah, and also the stuff about no mercy, rain and terror falling from the sky, all this awful stuff he says every press conference. I know you're a little revved up about this, Adam, so you want to start?
Yeah, I mean, you just hear him as he makes his case auditioning for President Trump. You can tell that that's the primary audience, right? And also the just shamelessness of it, the sort of smarmy nature of what he's doing to try to ingratiate himself to the president. It's just, I'm kind of like Jim. It's a lot to take, it's a lot to keep listening to. And this notion that the press is getting in the way and being inappropriate by asking questions about what's being gained and what's being lost, it's just so patently absurd on its face. The idea that he's talking directly to the good, brave people of the American public, it's all just so asinine.
Also beyond his trashing of the press, Callie, almost every single morning at 8 o'clock, and Marjorie and I being the masochists we are, listen to or watch it every single morning because we actually want to know what's going on in the war, and General Kane sort of gives you a picture. He also said, I can't wait till the Ellisons take over CNN, because he trashes CNN almost every morning. The Ellisons haven't even been approved by the federal government, and he's talking about them taking over. There's never been anything like this. Never.
Never. It's supposed to be that decision is without influence from a sitting president or certainly anybody in his cabinet. But clearly, Hegseth is convinced, as the rest of us are, that the Ellisons will get this deal. If people recall, Netflix was trying to buy Warner Brothers with an $83 billion offer, and then Paramount and the Ellisons up the ante to $110 billion, and that means that they will own CNN and many other properties.
And CBS.
And they get an opportunity to, some of us would say, by looking at the work of Barry Weiss, who's the new president, to continue her work, which is to impose a certain ideological style reporting on the CBS reporters who have been in the past known as the Tiffany Network for their pristine and their precise and their in-depth reporting and investigation. So it's depressing to watch that. It's illegal for them to do it, but at this point, I don't know how we can, all the
there aren't
illegal
enough
stuff.
lawyers to file enough lawsuits to deal with all the, since Callie, you both brought up CBS. Let's stay with CBS for a second. The ratings of the evening news guy, who I've only seen twice, are dropping precipitously. I'm curious in a minute, do you think, is it the quality of the broadcast or is it a political statement by the viewers? Barry Weiss is laying off people at CBS News. There was a third thing that I forgot about that. And this morning, about 10 minutes ago, while you guys were here at 11:13, the Washington Post breaking news. I don't know what this means for BZ Radio. CBS News will end radio service, cut more jobs as top editor. Barry Weiss struggles to right ship. And on BZ Radio, part of the broadcast is some CBS News radio stuff. So, I mean, you can comment on that if you choose, Adam, but also, what's your take about why viewership is dropping as dramatic? He's not just in third place. He's third place, dropping like a rock.
Yeah, I think that people are not warming to his sort of, I'm an everyman who's going to meet you where you are. I'm not a member of the journalistic elite. I'm going to talk to you about the things you really care about as opposed to trying to impose my agenda upon you. I'd like to think that people are bristling at that a little bit, not going for it. He was, I believe, the anchor who got closest to the action in Iran. In a way, you'd like to see him rewarded for that. But the general conception of how he's supposed to be reinventing what it means to be an anchor, I think a lot of people, certainly in the news business, take umbrage at. I think a lot of the ordinary people, so-called ordinary people he's trying to cater to, do as well, based on those numbers.
What are your
Callie,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You and I know, since you're a culture maven, and he's married to Katie Tour over at MS, which is much more liberal. That must be a very strange marriage at this point.
Well, no, I think what's interesting about it, because I watched him faithfully when he was on morning news, so I know what his capabilities of reporting, particularly out in the field. He was really pretty good at that. Lots of attention brought to him. I think most people came to know him when he got into that verbal not disagreement. I don't want to put the disagreement. That's a value judgment. A really intense conversation with Ta-Nehisi Coates about Ta-Nehisi's book.
Yes, that's right.
And some
accusing
people,
him of being anti-Israel.
Yeah, so it was a whole thing. Listen, both of them were grown. I thought that was a really tough conversation, but he should not have been fired or thought of. I didn't think any ill of him as a result of that conversation. It was a really good, tough conversation. Okay, so now Barry Weiss comes in and says, we got a whole new thing, and he starts spouting this stuff that she says, and I am shocked. I am telling you, his work in the field was never. People are taking umbrage at that. He made a comment that we're going to do stuff better than Walter Cronkite wasn't a great journalist. Right. What are you talking about? Even if you believe that, say it at home in your closet. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, it's just the level of arrogance. And then recently I had a chance to talk to someone who works and is a well-known person at CBS to get the backdrop, and she says the insiders, the reporters, are furious that he never should have been. He did not have the gravitas to have the job, so there is that as well. So am I surprised? No, because I might have been one, given his past in the morning, to have watched him on the evening news. No, I will never watch him.
As someone who done a little anchoring, and you guys obviously we're all in this business sort of today. For people who are bristling at that, saying, "Well, she's the boss and she can," it's one thing to try to change the feeling of a set, for example. Like, we're big Anderson Cooper fans, both of us. And as of Monday, out of the blue, he's all of a sudden sitting in the newsroom. His tie is down. The guests don't have tie. I mean, I don't like that kind of thing, but that's trying to create a feel. He is still exactly who he was. It is amazing to me that somebody is willing to change their approach to the news and their job for the job. You know what I mean? And that's what he's doing. It's not just an affect kind of thing. It's a whole approach, which really, I think, I think does turn people off if they're paying attention, you know?
Big time.
You know, one last thing about the CNN takeover, and I should say one of my kids works there, so I hope it's not a bad takeover. It's looking like it would be a bad takeover. But anyway, so Wall Street doesn't like it because they think Paramount's going to be so highly leveraged. A lot of money come from the Middle East. Could be a bloodbath in terms of jobs and stuff. I wonder if that's going to matter at all. If it's
CNN's ratings are atrocious, by the way.
They are
you and I are
atrocious.
about 2 of 11 people who watch. I mean, it's true.
But they've just started this whole new app and the streaming service and all that, which they're trying to leverage. So
I'm concerned about the people being laid off at CBS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, in terms of that merger, and then we can get back to CBS, it's worth underscoring how big that will be. We've talked about it a little bit, but Paramount Pictures and Warner Brothers would be together. HBO Max and Paramount Plus would be together. And as we said earlier, CBS News and CNN would be
That's
together.
a lot.
And wasn't it 1996? When did they? I think it was 96. They changed the rules about monopoly ownership of all these TV stations and newspapers and radio stations.
Right.
There had to be much less of it now, and now it's like
because it doesn't serve the consumers.
It does not serve the consumer.
Even if you agree with all their take on it, it doesn't serve you in the end.
More money and less of a local feel, right?
And less choice.
Yeah, less choice.
Yes.
Yeah, less choice. So it's bad.
Okay, so can we move on to something that is a totally new topic for us in terms of the effect on journalism? We've talked in the air in the past about how some athletes have gotten death threats because of sports betting. I bet that you were going to score 32 points and you stopped shooting near the end, or the coach took you out and the coach gets a death threat. And I'm acting like that's okay. Obviously, that's unimaginable. There's an Israeli reporter who got repeated death threats because of something we've never talked about on the show, the prediction market. Could you start and fill in some blanks, and then Callie will weigh in here?
Yeah, I believe that the bet that was placed that caused all the trouble for him was placed on Polymarket, which is one of these prediction websites that you can use. And there
you could bet on anything. When a war is going to start, when a leader is going to be decapitated,
deposed,
whatever.
Right. It's the Wild West. And this reporter had reported that a fragment of a missile from Tehran was it a fragment or the entire thing?
They called it an interceptor fragment.
A missile from Tehran had fallen on an Israeli town, and someone got in touch with him and said, "Actually, I want to draw your attention to the fact that you're incorrect. That was an interceptor fragment. That it was, an Israeli missile that hit an Iranian missile, kept it from falling. Please correct the record because we have a lot of money at stake here." And I think we're talking like $1 million that various people had wagered that they weren't going to get because of this guy's reporting, and they threatened his life.
Right, after the nice one, that first communication, please correct your reporting.
If there's
we know your
information
kids go to school. We know where your family lives.
Where you live.
Really terrifying stuff. And the guy stuck to his guns, to his great credit, and did not change his reporting. The police are involved now, but it never would have occurred to me that we could be in the crosshairs of, basically de facto mafiosi if we report something correctly. But
there's also another angle to this too. You can comment on not just this, but apparently some people have won a lot of money because they bet on when the invasion of either Venezuela or Iran would be, and many independent sources say they won their bets because they had inside information from the administration, right?
That's right.
Yep.
So there's a couple things. There's two big ones. The Polymarket one, which is the one that this guy reported, and the people who had bet through this, that's a global. The other one, Kalashi, is basically U.S.-based, and they say we don't bet on anybody's death. We don't. You can't do that on our format, but on Polymarket you can.
Yeah.
So we should say there are different formats for some of these things. Same impact though, with people, concerned about what are you reporting and if it's going to concern my bottom line and pocket. But the fact that they would threaten this guy's life, and he said the one who reported it and then ended up going to the police. There will be other people who will change their minds because they will give in to the threats. And I am concerned by that because what does that mean? We're living in the era of dis and misinformation, and that will just add to it. So,
and we should also say, if you're looking for the government to step in and regulate this completely unregulated market that unfortunately Donald Trump Jr. is an investor and an unpaid advisor to Polymarket and a paid advisor to Kelcey. So that would
he's got money
augur against stringent regulation.
I want to point out somebody else who's involved, which shocked me, Nate Silver. He's an
Really?
advisor. Yes. So there's a lot of conversation.
The journalist?
Yes, that is correct. I was shocked by that.
So he's not with the Times anymore. He's independent, right? But still.
You got me.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gone on a journey.
Yes.
Okay, we're almost out of time here, but one quick thing. This is good news. I think that Voice of America judges ruled that was shut down with Carrie Lake. Remember, she was running it illegally, and that they're going to be rehiring the people and get back, I hope, up to snuff. That's some good news. The judges are doing a lot of good things, actually.
Well, that's the ruling. So now we're in the middle of the administration going back and forth. Well, no, it's not. So here I am back to saying it's deemed illegal. The judge has said, and then they keep coming up with ways not to move forward. The piece of good news that I didn't realize those people were still on leave, therefore getting
paid leave.
Paid.
I love it.
So they weren't laid off, so they still are working. Technically, and I hope more happens. I hope
That's Trump's idea of cost cutting. Lay you off for a year, pay you, and have you do no work that benefits anybody.
RFK Jr. could overrule both on vaccines and on trans care, too, so I'm very happy about that. That's nothing to do with the media, but I'm very happy about that. Maybe the judge didn't like his jeans in the hot tub or something like that.
Okay.
It's possible you say thank you, Marjorie.
Okay. Thank you very much to our great media analysis folks. We got Callie, who's the host of Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, Sunday nights right here on 89.7, every Sunday night at 6 o'clock. And she, of course, is a co-star of The Culture Show with Jared. They're here today at 2 o'clock to do their week in review. Adam Riley's political reporter at GBH, and he used to write the Don't Quote Me media column for the great alt weekly, The Boston Phoenix. Callie and Adam, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, too.
Up next, we are going to have some fantastic music. Our Live Music Friday, we're going to hear from David Rivera. You don't want to miss it. I'm Marjorie Egan. He's Jim Browder. You're listening to BPR, GBH, and NEPM live from the BPL, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, if your internet's slowed, it's probably not a cyber attack, just 150 million BTS fans racing to download the K-pop band's comeback album. Speaking of comebacks, Jay-Z is back in an Empire state of mind. After years shaping pop culture as a producer, he's returning to the stage for 2 shows at Yankee Stadium. Tune in for that and more on our Arts and Culture Week in Review, today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Coco Badakian & Sons, offering antique rugs since 1938. A range of hand-knotted, modern, and antique oriental rugs are available to view in their showroom at 808 Main Street, Winchester, or online at cocorug.com.
And the Cambridge Homes, a nonprofit, independent, and assisted living community in Cambridge, offering residents supportive services as well as cultural, educational, and social programs. thecambridgehomes.org/tradition.
Welcome back to BPR and GH and NEPM. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browdy, live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. General Manager of the T here in about 20 minutes. Take your questions for an hour. Attorney General Campbell will be here Wednesday at 11 for an hour, and Governor Healy will be here for an hour on Friday. Time for another edition of Live Music Friday on BPR at the Boston Public Library. Joined now, singer, drummer, composer David Rivera and some folks from La Bámbula. He weaves together hip-hop beat, R&B with 1970s salsa, rich Caribbean and Puerto Rican music traditions. One of the few lead singer drummers out in the music scene you don't want to miss. No drum right now, I just noticed. La Bámbula is a 9-piece powerhouse, and they're giving us a slightly scaled-back version this morning for library purposes, ahead of their show at the Regattabar. That's on Saturday, April 4th. Tickets at regattabarjazz.com, regattabarjazz.com, and you can find him on Instagram at David Rivera Music, and now they're going to play via Con Dios. Welcome to all four of you.
Woo!
Thank you very much. If you feel like dancing, go ahead. Después de haberte robado las flores de mi jardín, después de haberte saciado con tan precioso botín, tú me dices que no es suficiente para tú verte feliz, que vas en busca de otro ambiente y otros amores descubrir, mujer. Para pa 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 para me diste tu compañía, mi amor entero te di. Tú fuiste todo en mi vida y yo fui uno más para ti. Desamparada por mi pena, solo me queda cantar, pues este amor fue mi condena y ahora lo tengo que olvidar, mujer. Y aunque tú ya no me quieras, yo no te tengo rencor, tan solo quiero que seas dichosa en el amor, que se hagan realidad tus sueños y que seas muy feliz, y que jamás sientas la pena que a mí me tocó vivir, mujer. Vaya con Dios, que encuentres felicidad, que te aproveche mi negra en la soledad. Me diste tu compañía, mi amor entero yo te lo di. Tú fuiste todo, 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 todito en mi vida y yo fui uno más para ti. Vaya con Dios, que encuentres felicidad, que te aproveche mi negra en la soledad. No encontrarás quien te quiera con tanto amor y ternura, y es que yo tengo azuquita en la cintura. Oye, echa pa' allá, ya no te quiero más. Echa pa' allá, ya yo no te quiero más. Echa pa' allá, ya yo no te quiero más. Echa pa' allá, ya yo no te quiero más.
Bámbula, David Rivera. It's fabulous, gentlemen.
Tickets
Thank
at
you so much.
Regattabarjazz.com. You can find out more on Instagram at David Rivera Music. So, tell us who's in your band. Introduce your bandmates.
Yeah, thank you so much. Very happy to be here. We got Andres on bass. We got David on congas. And we got Aníbal over there on keyboards from Cuba. Andres is from Colombia. And David is from Puerto Rico.
Okay. Before we get any further, I thought you were going to be playing a drum. That looks like a desk over there. You were playing. What is that, please?
That desk is called cajon. It's a Peruvian instrument that later on took life in Spain with flamenco music. Just did a lot of some changes. I had the Spanish version has a string on it, and I couldn't bring a drum set because of the library, but I play the drum set and I sing while
sounds great.
Thank you so much.
It sounds great.
We are actually a 14-piece band.
Oh, sorry about
but
that.
But for this trip, we're reduced to 9, and now we are 4, and eventually it will be just me with the drum set. I don't know.
So I know you're sick of this question, so let's get it out of the way.
Yeah.
Why are so few lead singers, drummers simultaneously? They're almost not. I mean, Phil Collins obviously comes to mind right away.
Yeah.
Why are there so few?
You know, the first person that did that I saw was Phil, and it didn't capture my attention because he was playing drums and singing, but because he was a left-handed drummer, and I am a left-handed drummer.
Oh.
And I was like, the drum is backwards. Like, what's going on? And then I was like, oh, he plays like me. And then he made that. But it's very hard. I have to practice a lot singing and playing like in segments so I can be able to, get the coordination going on. But it's very fun. I like doing it.
Okay, now I think of a drum player as ambidextrous because it's 2 hands. What makes you a left-handed drummer? You just are stronger with your left hand?
I'm stronger with my left foot.
Oh, your left foot?
That's the bass drum.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't ask you. I meant to ask you before. The song you just sang, for those, what was that about? Tell people who speak only English what that song was about.
That song, actually, very special. Thank you for asking that. That is not one of my compositions. That is on my last album, Cuentos, Remixes, and Maquetas. And it's a composition by Alex Alvear, who used to live here for many years. I used to live here for 15 years, graduated from Berkeley. And today is his birthday. Today is Alex Alvear's birthday.
Happy birthday.
And it tells the story of, when love goes bad. Vaya con Dios means, Godspeed.
Okay. Yeah, we can all relate to that.
I think we all can. At some point, we told somebody, you know what? Vaya con Dios.
How is music, with the exception of one individual who everybody knows, how is music with Puerto Rican roots doing in America? With the exception of Bad Bunny, who obviously is the biggest star in the world right now.
Well, you know what? Right now, in Puerto Rico, the music scene is very alive. There's many groups like one I have and different, exploring with, Latin American rhythms, Puerto Rican folklore music, and, we've always had this exchange of music and culture with the United States because of our political colony status. We always have people that bring music from all over. I think one of the fascinating things about this country is that you can interact with people from all over the world. When I stepped into Berkeley in 2005, I was fascinated. I've never seen an Asian people before, or Brazilian people, or, and I've never spoke English before. So for me, it was amazing to have and learn from many cultures. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things that the United States have. And
we only have a couple of minutes before you're going to go back and play again, but I read a story this morning, I talked to you before the show, about Puerto Rico's crisis generation. And I think you would be in that crisis generation, about the difficulties in Puerto Rico now. We all remember the Hurricane Maria, which was so devastating.
And we're still recuperating for that.
Yeah. So is there a crisis right now? Are you from that generation of difficulty in Puerto Rico?
Yes, we're being displaced. Many people from outside of Puerto Rico coming and buying houses and establishing their businesses, paying no taxes at all. Taxes that we, the locals, have to pay. And it's very hard for us to buy our own houses, to put up and running our own businesses. The inflation is really every year. It's so bad that I think the U.S. is cheaper now to be in Puerto Rico. So
wow.
It's something that we really need to making music and making this project is like a call for, a protest, It's like, so for me, I'm very happy to do this because it tells people what we do in Puerto Rico and what we can do. But for right now, it's very hard for young people to really establish themselves in the working community, Do
you think Trump knows Puerto Ricans are citizens of the United States yet, or not quite yet? By the way, anonymous texter, finally, some music with a beat. I didn't understand a word they said, but they sounded fabulous.
Okay.
So there you are. What are you playing this time? What are you and the love?
I'm going to play a song called Quiéreme. I actually started this. It's a romantic song, but it brings, we have to make the best of these times because we don't know what's going to happen. And if we love people, and if you love people, just tell them you love them, and you don't know if you're going to see these people tomorrow or what's going to happen. And quiéreme, which means love me, it's a call to be loved and to love one another. I think in this world with so much chaos, positivity is a cool thing. And
we
it's a radical
that, Marjorie.
thing.
What do you think?
I'm going to try that. Yeah.
So yeah, I wrote it when the conflict between Russia and Ukraine started. You know, I thought that was like, oh my God, now it's gonna start. This thing is starting. Like, and you know, I travel a lot because of work, and my grandparents are 90 years old, so I try to as much as I can spend time with them and with people that I love, and I think positivity is the coolest thing you can do right now, and to be positive.
I hope the music is as beautiful as the spirit you just expressed.
Thank you so much.
David Rivera and La Bámbula, gently put them down.
Thank you so much for having me, really.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have all of you. And why don't you give ticket information while David is walking back?
You can get tickets at Regattabar. Let me read tickets at regattabarjazz.com. All one word, regattabarjazz.com. And you can find David on Instagram at David Rivera Music.
David Rivera,
David Rivera Music. And they're going to play for us again right
La
now.
Bámbula, welcome back, gentlemen.
Quiéreme como si se fuera a acabar el mundo. Bésame como te saboreas un mango fresco. Báilame y lúcete, sé libre así. Me gustas, bésame. Lo seguiré pidiendo yo y conocer a qué sabe el dulce néctar de tu piel y entender eso que otros no pueden ver. Ay, no comas más migajas de otro querer. Ese es mi ruego. Y yo le he contado a toditas las estrellas que se me eriza a mí la piel cuando estás cerca. Anda, bésame. Por si los rusos vuelan tú esta mierda. Les he contado a toditas las estrellas que se me eriza a mí la piel cuando estás cerca. Anda, bésame. Ven y quiéreme. Déjame ser. Na 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 na. Ay, no comas más migajas de otro querer. Ese es mi ruego. Aníbal Cruz on keyboards. Le he contado a toditas las estrellas que se me eriza a mí la piel cuando estás cerca. Anda, bésame. Por si lo vuelan todo esta mierda. Y le he contado a toditas las estrellas que se me eriza a mí la piel cuando estás cerca. Anda, bésame. Ven y quiéreme. Tú tienes la llave. Y es que tú tienes la llave y yo tengo la clave. Quiéreme, quiéreme. Y con clemencia, Teresa. Negra linda, negra santa, tú tienes la llave. Y es con clemencia. Si no, pregúntale a Gilberto cómo sigue su conciencia. Muévete, muévete, que de eso tú sabes. Mamá Lola, la pillé, mamá Lola, con ella me quiero casar. No te me ragues, mi santa, que que como yo nadie te querrá y tú lo sabes. Thank you very much.
Terrific. Thank you, guys. That was great. Marjorie's mic's not on.
Okay.
Here
it's
it
on
is.
now.
It is
We've
now.
been speaking with and listening to Puerto Rican singer and drummer David Rivera ahead of a show at the Regattabar Saturday, April 4th. Tickets at regattabarjazz.com. And you can find David on Instagram at, it's spelled David Rivera Music, at David Rivera Music on Instagram. We say goodbye to those of you listening on NEPM, but make sure to tune in to the Fabulous 413 at 3. The show keeps going here in Boston. I'm going to talk to the head of the MBTA, Phil Eng. He is next, taking our questions and yours.
Coming up, you'll hear something on GBH News that just wouldn't be possible without listener support. So, while you're listening, consider pitching in $10 or $20 a month as a GBH sustainer and help make it all happen. Give at gbhnews.org.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And Mass General Brigham Health Plan, providing coverage plans for individuals, families, employers, and retirees with benefits that help you live in your moment. More at massgeneralbrighamhealthplan.org. And Explo, from international law to studio art. Explo's summer program helps middle schoolers to find their spark. Day and overnight options at explo.org/summer. General enrollment deadline April 1st.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, some theologians speculate that if there was a forbidden fruit in the Garden of Eden, it wasn't an apple that Eve plucked, but its fuzzier, woodier relative, the quince. Turns out there's a lot you can do to spice up, literally and figuratively, this often overlooked fruit. Take a bite from the Tree of Knowledge with us today on the Curiosity Desk. That's at 1 on GBH 89.7.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Yes, Browdy, I am Marjorie Egan. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Boston Public Radio, 89.7 GBH. Thank you. We are broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News. 2 programming notes. The Attorney General will be with us on March 25th here at the library at 11, and also at 11 on Friday, March 27th at the library, the Governor of the Commonwealth, Maura Healey. Hello again, Jim.
And Joy Behar from The View.
Oh, Joy Behar, that's
is
right.
zooming in on Monday about her show at the Huntington.
Yeah,
what is it
can't
called?
wait.
My First Ex-Husband?
My first
ex-husband, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
At the Huntington, 28th and 29th.
There were a few more, I guess.
Joined now at the library by Phil Eng. Phil, of course, is general manager of the T and currently serving also as transportation secretary for Massachusetts. GM Eng joins us for the rest of the show, taking our questions, more importantly yours, for Ask the GM and Ask the Secretary of Transportation. And, of course, if he picks up a third job by the end of the show, you can ask him about that, too. Yeah, that's all right with you, right? Good. Now, if you have a question for Phil Eng, send us a text or give us a call at 877-301-8970. Or you can find our colleague, Nicole, who is not there yet.
Yep, she's walking over there, right there.
And you can go to the mic after you talk to Nicole and ask a question directly to the GM yourself. Secretary and General Manager Phil, it's great to see you.
Thank
Thanks
you
for being here.
so much for coming in, Phil Eng. And
great tie.
We have a very momentous. Jim and I almost never break any news here, but I think we're about to break some news now, thanks to you. Some additions to what's going on at the T, right? More service.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a breaking news story, Phil. You don't seem very excited.
No, that's why I wore my bus tie.
Oh, that's why you wore your bus tie. Okay.
Over the last few years, we've been rebuilding our workforce and restoring service. And starting the spring schedule, our bus service will be exceeding what we had in 2019.
That's great.
This is just another testament to our operations folks, to the governor, to the legislature for the support we've gotten. Bus service carries 40% of our ridership.
Is it?
And it's growing.
Wow.
So the ability to say that we are now back to pre-pandemic levels of service is huge. And not only that, it's reliable. We're not dropping trips. We're adhering better to schedules. And it really is because of the workforce and the way we've been working and training them.
Where can other people get that tie? That is a great tie, Jim. Look at that tie.
It's quite fun.
With the buses and the T and all the different colors.
Rather
Are those for
loud,
sale?
but it's very pretty.
Can we buy those at T.com or something, MBTA.com?
Well, this is a one-of-a-kind that was
it's a one-of-a-kind,
hand-painted, but
it's great.
Maybe we can make more of them.
Yeah, I think
it is. It was hand-painted.
It's beautiful.
That's great. You know, you mentioned the service is at pre-pandemic levels in terms of buses. How about ridership on buses and the subway? We've asked you that. Obviously, you're asked that all the time. How's that going?
Ridership is continuing to grow. Across all the system, we are over 70% of the return to ridership. It has changed in terms of morning peak, afternoon peak days of the week, as well as off-peak weekend travel. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because it allows the crowding to disperse across the entire day. We're seeing every day and every week and every year ridership's continuing to come back. And it's not just in terms of numbers, it's also in terms of the revenue that comes from those fares.
The number is 877-301-8970 if you have a question or a comment from Phil Eng, acting. You're the acting secretary. Is that what it's called? Acting?
I'm the interim
secretary of transportation
secretary.
in general. But one last thing, we've said this before, and I think we're not alone. The commercials that you voice yourself, I think, are really effective and also makes you accessible. What I'm sort of surprised of, and maybe they're in the works, if there was ever a time as a layperson that I would think you can pump up ridership, it's when gas prices are going to be $3.91 this morning, national average, a little bit lower in Massachusetts, $4 by the weekend. Why are you promoting this as an even better alternative than in normal times when driving is borderline unaffordable?
Well, that is actually one of the beauties of having both roles because I'm looking to tackle congestion as well in the entire transportation system. And one of the best ways is to get a mode shift, right? So not only bus service, but it's about the safety, the reliability, and the frequency of all the modes. Every mode we have right now, since day one when I started and then this administration of Governor Healy took over, we've increased the amount of trips. We're improving the reliability, and we're shortening the trips for people. That's some of the ways to get people back on the system. Obviously, more bus service, more frequent bus service. We're running on some of our busiest bus services lines every 15 minutes, and that gives people the ability to say, I'm just going to go to the bus stop, and I could use it without having to actually look. In the past, if it's unreliable, if it's coming every hour, why would you want to use necessarily transportation? Are you able, I know it's only been 3 weeks. I mean, it's not only 3 weeks if you're involved in the war, so I'm not downplaying the seriousness of it. It's horrible. Do you see, is there a correlation, when gas prices spike, not a few cents, but dramatically like they have in the last 3 weeks, is there a correlation between that and the level of ridership of trains and buses, or am I exaggerating? No, it is a good area where we need to. I know during the Sumner Tunnel work, one of the things that we wanted to highlight was the cost of fuel, even then, and the ability to use whether it's a subway for $2.40, a bus for $1.70. These are the things where that's a fantastic price to be able to use our system. And if you think about it, the income eligible program that we rolled out, over 40,000 riders now that
Explain what that is. Explain how that works, please.
Yep. When I first started, the budget had $5 million for us to study income eligible program, meaning depending upon your level of income and the threshold of poverty, what we're doing now is we have it across every mode, commuter rail, ferry, paratransit, bus, subway, and it's 50% of the price of a full fare.
Wow.
And that allows people
great.
that need to use the service but couldn't afford it before, the ability. So. And
how do you qualify? What are the mechanics of beyond thresholds? Tell us what that is. But secondly, how do you go through a process to be eligible for?
Well, that was one of the other things that we wanted to make sure that it was a very simple process. Yeah. So not only do we have setups across the state where we know we think there's a higher percentage of folks that would need this program, but we also made sure when you go to the MBTA website, it's a very quick process. There are a lot of folks that are already in certain programs that we did not want them to have to reapply, and it just makes a matter of be able to be reciprocal and allow them to be right into the program. We have over 40,000 people enrolled right now.
That's
our number is 877-301-8970. Phil Eng is going to be with us to the top of the hour, taking our questions and yours. Let's go to Chris in Cambridge. Thank you for calling, Chris.
Hello, Chris.
Hey there. I'm so grateful you're on. Thank you so much for all of your work to make Nest out of the MBTA better. And I wanted to ask a question along the lines of what you were talking about with mode shift. I just saw that there's a project proposed from the MassDOT Highways Division to do a highway lane expansion by the interchange of 95 and 93 and 28. And it is a terrible interchange. I totally appreciate that. If I had to drive in it during rush hour every day, I would be really frustrated. But I'm worried that if we expand the highway to 5th lane and a 4th lane for part of it, it's just going to push the problem farther down, and it's going to ultimately add, every time you add a new highway lane, it just adds some more congestion later on. So I was wondering, have you guys are you thinking about congestion pricing? It seems like it's been so incredibly successful everywhere else as a way to kind of get people onto the buses or onto new transit service that could help that corridor, help people get into the city more efficiently and more safely.
Great question, Chris.
Well, some of the things that we are looking at is how do we fund transportation longer term, right? The governor proposed a historic budget for, across the entire Commonwealth, but for transportation, significant investments to allow us to rebuild it. The legislature has been truly supportive in terms of understanding that transportation supports the entire Commonwealth and all the priorities. And what we're looking at is that has stabilized us through this budget process to be able to know that we have the ability to ensure our operations, and the level of operations today is through 2028. This allows us to have those types of discussions on those types of opportunities. We're watching closely what's happening in New York City. We've also looked at things in London and how that has gone, because that's been much longer implemented. So these are all things that it's great to have the opportunity to watch how other agencies are doing. And early on, New York City is seeing benefits in terms of more ridership, less traffic congestion. I also know there are some discussions on how that affects folks who need to still drive into the area. So this is a balancing act, because I think one of the things about transportation, we touch on so many diverse needs. It's important to really get a lot of feedback, and that feedback helps us shape those decisions, because they're not easy decisions. And just so, as we talked about income eligible, it's a different way of finding resources. So those are the things that allows us now with the budget proposal and what I anticipate will be a good budget for us, the ability to have those more robust discussions, because again, we need to have feedback from the folks that would be, impacted by such a decision.
Phil Eng, I know that
Thank you for your call, Chris.
And I should know more about this, but I don't. The Mayor Wu started some free bus lines. Are they still operating as free? And if so, I know the Trump administration wants to shut down free bus lines in big cities like Boston and New York. So what's the deal with the free bus lines?
Well, I'm very pleased to be able to work with the mayor on those free bus lines. The city has been funding the program, and they were able to identify funds to extend it through June of this year. But really what I'm looking at right now is to make sure the resources that we have enable the income eligible program that is supporting every mode, not just buses, and every bus line income eligible, right? How do I do that and make sure I have enough resources? Because I want to make sure it's a safe, reliable, and frequent bus routes. And what I don't want to do is take away resources and all of a sudden have us back pre-2022 and have a system where a bus is late now. And if you're an hourly wage worker, you miss, going to work, you lose an hour of pay. So, these are the trade-offs. If I take dollars that I don't have for operations and I just say, okay, every bus is free.
Yeah.
The income eligible program is funded. I believe the House put in a $20 million proposal to continue the program. And I'm really excited about that piece, because the ability for us to make sure it's safe, reliable, and more frequent, I think are the keys, as well as affordable. And I think the income eligible program helps us achieve all of those right now.
Which is half off, as you said.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying it's half off, as you just said.
I want to follow up, though, on Marjorie said. We didn't learn until the other day, I'm sure you knew this, that Trump has proposed legislation that in the Surface Transit Act, or whatever the hell it's called, some federal legislation, that any city of more than, I think, 200,000 residents, which obviously includes Boston, which has free transportation, will lose all federal funding. That's a pretty big threat. Is that something that you and the mayor have talked about, or you consider when deciding whether there's money to continue free buses past June, and whether it's advisable, that threat?
I think there's, with every municipality, including the mayor of Boston, we're always discussing the dollars that are available, both state, federal. How do we continue to pursue, and how do we continue, when we receive them, we keep them and we spend them. That bill out there is, some of their philosophies. There are some properties across the nation that have tried free buses on a larger scale and have been looking to scale them back. So these are things that I'm sure there have been challenges in some cases. On one hand, I understand, faster boarding, you don't have to worry about collecting fares. On the other hand, some of those agencies have encountered things that they did not expect as part of a free bus system. So there's a balance between ensuring that we make it affordable, but how do we keep it safe and reliable?
You're not 100. I mean, I don't mean this critically. I mean it observationally. You're not 100% of an advocate like Mamdani and Wu are of free buses. It sounds like. Is that a fair characterization?
I think there's a balance between free buses and the funding that is needed to do it. Means right now it's taken away from the other critical things that need to be done.
Fair enough. Let's go to David in Lexington with Phil Eng. Interim Secretary of Transportation and GM of the T. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
The garage at Alewife is in terrible condition, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. In fact, it seems to be getting worse all the time. And since that's the feeder to the Red Line, what are you going to do about it?
Yes.
What are you going to do about it, Phil Eng?
Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Well, we certainly know the garage at Alewife, and it is a key component to our system. Needs attention. We had gone through with what we call an industry day to get potential developers to join us and hear our vision for Alewife, but also to let them explore what they think could be worthwhile for them to invest in new development at Alewife. That resulted in one bidder, and when we worked through it, it didn't meet their needs. Right now, one of the things I am looking at, and not looking at, I've been growing right now, in-house, Chief Development Opportunity Officer, and the real estate team in TOD. We're looking at Alewife, we're looking at Lynn, we're looking at so many other parts where we know development opportunities exist, and Alewife is one of them. So there's going to be more to follow on Alewife. Right now, we're taking a look at what best fits Alewife, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whether it's a mix. And again, even those, we are talking with the communities and the local elected delegation, because we want to make sure what we think is good for a community is what they and their community, their constituents believe is right for them.
And didn't they have the cardboard cop at Alewife for a long time where you'd walk in and there'd be...
By the bike area, so people didn't steal bikes. That was pre-Phil Eng.
How's the cardboard cop? Is he still there?
It might still be there. I think I saw it when I last visited.
Yeah, you just get pretty close to it before you realize it's not really a police officer.
Here's Eric in Boston. I don't know if his facts are right, but you would know. In the last 10 years, Massachusetts has built 6 subway stations as part of the Green Line expansion. At the same time, Singapore, a country with a similar population and GDP as Mass, has built 45 stations. What's stopping us from extending our system more rapidly, Phil Eng?
Well, we also built 6 stations on South Coast Rail as well, and that service actually is proving as fruitful as we had hoped for. In fact, that whole corridor, as a result of those 6 stations on South Coast Rail, is up by 50% in the ridership.
Wow.
And if you read the stories, restaurants, businesses, housing, and allowing people to have bi-directional travel. Having said that, with some of the things right now, as much as I want to build more stations and I want to expand the system, I want to make sure we're stable. I want to make sure that the system is robust, right? Get the system back to where we're running regular service. And I've said this at other places. If I said, okay, I'm going to expand, I'm going to build 4 more stations on whichever line, whichever mode, but I can't get buses or trains there because the system's unreliable, I don't think that's what I would call a success. Having said that, I'm always going to be looking as an engineer. I love to build, and I love to see how we can expand, because we do know when you expand, and the Green Line is a perfect example, the development and the housing and all of those opportunities for people to live, work, and play, bi-directional travel, it's immense. I lived along that extension for part of time, and it's fantastic to see, and I wasn't here before living here, but people told me, all that development took place because of the extension.
So a big challenge, to say the least, for this region, but you in particular, and this is in both your hats, T and Transportation Department. World Cup is coming in June. Is your advice that if people are driving in the World Cup, they should leave today? What are you... Okay.
Jim, what's the World Cup?
Good line there, Phil. So my understanding is you're going to transport or provide transportation, rail transportation, correct me if I'm wrong, for 20,000 people. You can, to a stadium, it's going to be called Boston Stadium, Gillette. Correct me in a minute if I'm wrong. So tell us about that. And secondly, though, that's great, but how about the other 40,000 people who are not going to be on rail? How are they going to get to these 7 games at Gillette? 7 games, right? Or is it 9? 7.
It's 7 games. 6 on weekdays.
How are you
the first match is on a Saturday night at 9 p.m. So when I first heard about one of the very early meetings over a year ago on World Cup, there are a lot of discussions about the expectations, and these are very transit-oriented riders. So we knew that we had to do better than what we did for Army Navy, better than what we did for Taylor Swift. But we also knew our infrastructure wasn't able to handle that many trains, and we are planning to run 14 trains for the World Cup. One of the things we needed to make sure is we had the infrastructure, meaning platforms at Foxborough. The temporary platform on the community side is done. The permanent platform on the stadium side is nearing completion. It will be ready for the World Cup, and that investment is not only for the World Cup, that's going to allow us to serve events going forward, meaning if we expect a much more transit-oriented crowd, we could run more trains.
Yeah.
Now, as far as our thoughts on the whole World Cup effort, there's a lot of things about making sure it's safe, reliable. The other folks that do not use the train from South Station, those 14 trains from South Station, we're working with our partners in Rhode Island. We're working with our partners in the RTAs, because we do also expect that people will come from different parts of the Commonwealth. And we're also gathering information as it happens, and it's less than, I think it's about 85 days away. We're gathering where people are booking their hotels, because that also helps us demonstrate on how we do this. Working on the MassDOT side, park and rides, and how do we message that? The one thing I will say to all of the public, if you're not a football fan or a soccer fan, however you want to call it, and you can work remotely on those days, those game days particularly, we do strongly recommend don't try to drive. We have a friendly match Thursday. Brazil-France, yes.
Yeah.
We are offering 4 trains that Thursday, which is actually something that is a testament to our railroad operations folks, because traditionally to run those 4 special event trains on a weekday, 4 o'clock start, peak hour, and because this is not one we anticipate a lot of people flying in from Brazil and France, we anticipate a lot of local residents who are very interested in going. So we anticipate that a lot of people will probably try to drive as well, even though the train options are there. So that I would recommend roads, particularly in that area, I would not suggest.
We should have added to this, by the way, there will only be 5,000 parking spots at Gillette, unlike the normal, whatever, huge number of spots, which is still not enough, so be aware of that. Last thing about this, Phil Eng, and then we'll get back to the calls. How and when can people start signing up for the trains for the 7 games?
We will be announcing, we're finalizing the details, we'll be announcing that in early April, because we want to make sure not only the folks that want to use those event trains, but we also need to message with our regular riders because of the service changes that we'll be making to accommodate this. So there'll be a lot of information coming out in the first week of April.
You ever nervous? You don't seem like a nervous guy.
Every time the team presents to me on the World Cup, I get a little nervous.
Do you really? Do you?
Well, but this is also why we do this, right? Because it's exciting. There is some adrenaline to it that you need to have. And you're always, every minute, every second of those days, St. Patrick's Day, those are challenging days, but the railroad operations, transit police, working with our partners, very successful day. Over the last few years, we're seeing, no incidents, and people are getting to enjoy these types of events. That's our intention here, because the World Cup is going to bring so many people to Massachusetts. We want them to not only enjoy the experience for the World Cup, we want them to come back because tall ships, 4th of July,
Right. Yeah.
250th. And then, I've said it so many times, this baseball season, I think those damn Yankees come to town during that same period. So,
I know this. Are you a Yankee or a Met fan?
I am not a Yankee fan.
Okay, so excuse me.
Okay.
We're talking to Phil Eng.
We have Judy at the Boston Public Library. Mike, who has a question. Come on up, Judy. Thank you for coming.
I think somebody may have asked the question already, right? A caller?
Yes, I'm Judy from Newburyport.
Yeah.
I'm a retired city planner.
Oh.
I'm a transit bike pedestrian advocate, and you are one of my heroes. You are one of the people who gets the job done, puts his head down, and gives credit to his employees.
But what do you think of Phil?
And I think...
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
I think so many people could learn from that. And yes, I am interested in congestion pricing, and I'm wondering if you heard the reports that it has reduced congestion in the suburbs as well, according to a report from David Zipper, who writes for City Lab for Bloomberg News. He didn't do the research, but he reported on it. So it's revenue, reduced congestion in the city, reduced congestion in the suburbs. So if our lackluster legislature can take some training from you on leadership, maybe we could get it done.
Wow.
But do you support congestion pricing?
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you,
question.
Judy. Really appreciate it.
I have to say the legislature has been really supportive of me over these last few years. And, you gave me a lot of compliments in terms of focusing on the workforce, and they are truly a key part of why we do this. And I always say this, it's not about one person, it's about the entire team. And part of that team is the governor and her administration, because I tease my colleagues across the country, and they say it too, the support that we've gotten from this administration and our legislature has enabled us to actually start to move the needle in the right direction, to do things that other agencies are still trying to figure out how to do. And there's some agencies that are actually looking at reducing service further, and they're having challenges that we had like in 2022 and before. With regards to congestion pricing, I really do think I need to evaluate all the feedback. Certainly, if there is a way that is affordable for people that are concerned, and I know that was one of the discussions in New York about all of the different modes and who gets discounts off of the congestion pricing and how does that all divvied up. The other part, and it's great to hear, I didn't see the report about traffic outside of the perimeter, because I know in London early on, people would just drive to the perimeter, and then you would have congestion and parking and things of that nature. So these are all things that are important to do, but I really do think it's worth the discussion and the review with all of these folks, and where would the line of such a decision be made, right? What would be the right point of where we say, at this point, you have to charge a toll to enter. So these are all things that I really think the feedback's more important than myself. I've learned over the course of time, we may be transportation professionals, but we also know we serve the public, so I need to have that public feedback versus me telling them what's right for them. And I think that's where whatever decision's made, the interaction, it allows the public to understand when a decision is made, the tough decision, why it was made, versus me just saying, this is the right thing for you. And there's been so many times where you tell somebody what it is, and it without the feedback, it's not well received.
Judy, thank you for the call. We appreciate it. We got to move. Thank you very much.
Judy.
We're talking with Phil Eng, who, of course, is head of the MBTA and also, for the time being anyway, the Secretary of Transportation. When you're going to have this big...
Just before a break.
Oh, yeah, right before the break. Just a quick question. Big rally, the No Kings rally is going to be next Saturday, and a texter wants to know, are there going to be extra subway cars for those who want to take the trains into Boston? I think it's from 1 to 4 in Boston Common.
Well, I would say actually the subway system is very robust. We don't need to, we've had protests, we've had demonstrations, and we monitor them because we want to make sure they can be done safely in the crowding. But the level of service that we're running right now,
we'll take it.
They can get in there very easy. On the green line, they're running in the core every 1-2 minutes. Blue line is every 4 minutes. I had one of your colleagues in the media sent me a picture at Forest Hills Orange Line. And she felt like she hit the lottery because it was 2 minutes to the next train, 4 minutes to the train after that. And I remember when I first started, it was double digits of waiting for orange line cars.
I love those signs, too. They reduce your blood pressure tremendously when you know when the train is coming. That makes such a huge difference. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, but Phil Eng is going to be with us to the top of the hour, taking our questions and yours at 877-301-8970. You're listening to Boston Public Radio, streaming at youtube.com/GBH News and broadcasting live from the Boston Public Library.
This week on Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, the stories of trailblazing Massachusetts women have often been unknown and untold. Now their history is finally on display, celebrating Women's History Month in the Commonwealth. That's Under the Radar with me, Callie Crossley, Sunday night at 6 here on 89.7 GBH and the GBH app.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Porter Square Books, hosting Ibram X. Kendi with Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley for Chain of Ideas, a book charting the harmful rise of Great Replacement Theory, March 31st. Info at portersquarebooks.com. And Riverstone International U.S. LLC, located in Beverly, Massachusetts. A Riverstone International company acquiring legacy insurance globally since 2010. Learn more at rsml.co.uk. And Gentle Giant Moving and Storage Company, offering local, long-distance office and piano moving with 23 locations throughout New England and across the country. More information at gentlegiant.com. And Landvest Christie's International Real Estate, an independent brokerage representing residential and investment properties for buyers and sellers across New England and the Adirondacks since 1968. More at landvest.com.
Welcome back to BPR and 89.7 GBH. Marjorie Egan, Jim Browder, we're live at the library, streaming youtube.com/GBH News. Attorney General Campbell joins us for an hour at 11 o'clock at the library next Wednesday to take your questions. And on Friday of next week at 11, Phil Eng's boss, the governor, Maura Healey, joins us for an hour at 11 o'clock. And as we said, Joy Behar from The View and her new thing at the Huntington Theater on March 28th and 29th, I think, will join us on Zoom on Monday. If you're just tuning in, we're continuing with Phil Eng, General Manager of the T and Interim Secretary of Transportation. Well, lines are beyond full. But in any case, it's 877-301-8978.
So, Phil Eng, winter's over. We hope we don't have to worry about this until next year. But a lot of us are very upset about salt in the roads because they're very environmentally terrible. They hurt the water, and they do a number on all the dogs' feet, and they do a number on your... It's a mess. I didn't know this. Apparently, starfish skeletons can be used instead of salt. I mean, is there any thought about maybe moving away from salt for environmental and dog paw reasons?
Well, I think I read that same story.
Yeah.
I think what it says is it's an additive that actually reduces the way salt affects corrosion.
Yes, exactly.
Doesn't necessarily eliminate the salt use.
That's right, you're right.
But having said that, there is always our folks both on the highway side and at MBTA are taking a look at alternative things. You know, there's even areas where beet juice has been used because of the sugar in beet juice.
What?
Beet juice?
Really?
Instead of drinking it, maybe perhaps here at the public library, it is also an additive to support that. Now, you know, the way the salt treatment is done, there's two different things. There's brine, which is sprayed on. If you're ever following behind a truck, you can see these lines that you see. And that's a way to do early treatment in advance of a storm, and it prevents the snow or ice from adhering early on. It's a mix of salt and magnesium chloride. On the traditional thing, we know the things that are most effective right now are the rock salt, magnesium chloride, that mix. Some cases and some municipalities use sand as well. You know, but I would never say no to trying different things. I do understand that there's certain costs associated with introducing those additives. But I know the teams are right now, they continue to look and follow the industry on practices. So we're anxious to see, you know, if a property does try it, how it performs. But this is the first I heard about it too.
I never heard of it either.
So I'm sure the team will be
starfish.
The team will be looking at it. The other thing I think is, if I read the story correctly, they have the challenge with what to do with the starfish from the fishing. So they solved one problem to try and see how to use a different one. I don't know if I want to go and start taking all the starfish out of the water to
well, they
treat
said they eat. They're predators that eat up coral reefs in massive amounts of.
Why don't you investigate it, Marjorie, and report back to the general manager
I've looked into it, Jim.
Point.
Starfish skeletons. Some people don't like the idea of crushing them, but
if you want to look into it, we are hiring in both agencies, so we could
I have a certain expertise in starfish.
Okay, Allie in Harvard,
skeletons.
you're on with the general manager of the T, Phil Eng. Welcome to the show, Allie. Hi.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Great, thank you.
Phil. Thank you very much for what you did to the team. Great job. But I do have a question. So, in Southborough, we park Cristina Rail. My girlfriend has a handicap placard. Southborough town says that you don't have to pay for handicap parking. Why is it that I have to pay at the MBTA?
Well, you raise a question that I will look into. Some lots, depending upon which lot, we control, and other lots we don't control. So let me look into that. Absolutely.
How do we get back to Allie? Why don't you? Is it okay if we get his contact?
Sure.
Yeah, Allie, if you stay on hold, one of our producers will get your contact info, and Phil Eng's office will get back to you. So don't go away, Allie in Harvard. Jen in Somerville. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you, Phil Eng.
Hi, Jen.
Hi. So, I'm an Orange Line rider, and my complaint goes back to July of last year. So this is a maintenance issue, but it's also an issue about how the MBTA handles complaints. I emailed you. I emailed the maintenance manager. I came to your office in person. I did receive a phone call, but what the person said to me is that I have to write down, put a separate report complaint thing in for each car number. This is about the volume of recording on the Orange Line. So I went and I ended up sitting in 16 different cars and hearing the deafening volume. So I submitted 16 complaint forms.
Wow.
I've never had a response to my complaint. So, number one, this is not my job to do this. I don't know why it's so hard to listen to a complaint and have it fixed. Number two, if the issue isn't fixed, can you buy me noise-canceling headphones?
Why don't we have the Phil Eng respond to your concerns if we can?
Yeah, I'll have...
Lastly,
quickly,
can you
please.
tell me why it's so difficult to fix an issue like this? Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Well, we will definitely look into the volume levels of the announcements. I know there's always a balance between making sure the announcements are heard and they're important information. Just on a humorous note, my wife tells me the announcements when she takes the system and hears my voice, it's just too much. So I have to balance. We will look into it, Jen, though. And I'm sorry if you had that experience in terms of not getting an appropriate response. But we will look at the levels and we'll let you know where they stand.
Jen, you stay on hold too. We'll get your contact info as well. And obviously the T will, through Phil Eng's office, will be back to you. Jen, thanks for the call. Can we talk about the red line cars? I don't know if we discussed this with you, but we discussed it on the show. The fact that Border Patrol, I think it was holding up red line car delivery because of concern about human rights violations, child labor in China. It's the CRRC, is a Chinese state-owned company in Springfield that was given the contract to do this. They've been behind schedule on a whole bunch of things. My understanding is Representative Neal was at an event with Trump's chief of staff, Susie Wiles, spoke to her. You, Healy, others have dealt with this, and the cars are going to be delivered. So I have a bunch of quick questions. One, when is this going to happen, and when will the red line cars be online here? And two, have the child labor issues really been resolved, or are they just being sort of brushed over because of the need to get these cars released?
That is a key point. There were no... What Customs and Border Patrol, part of the Uyghur Act, it's called, is to ensure that material and components from a certain territory in China is not due to forced labor. CRC has demonstrated that there is no forced labor involved. We have inspectors over in China monitoring production.
You do?
From that perspective, yes.
The T does?
We do. We do. Because we need to monitor the quality and all of those things. Having said that, what really took place is that, and I don't fault the Customs and Border Patrol, the interest in making sure they just accelerated the amount of information to verify. So for instance, it may be cabling. Or it may be steel, but what they wanted to know is where did the raw material that made the coating come from? And that was a level of detail that had not been sought before. So it took a while for the manufacturers to be able to go back and say, okay, we're making these components, this is where it's from. So we also know we submitted all the documentation. Customs and Border Patrol did review it. And then the other piece was, materials that didn't even come from the region that were a part of it. I do thank Congressman Neal. I thank the governor. There was this opportunity that we took advantage of where he was with the president, he was with President's Chief of Staff, Wiles, and they shared the information because not only are the cars that we're receiving performing beyond what the contract requires, and our Orange Line riders are experiencing fixed track, modernized signals, new cars. That's probably one of our best lines. Red Line cars, we have about 68 on property. The cars have been approved to be released. We're taking control of them. They're making their way to Springfield. And the workforce is ready to get back to work. So there's a lot more to follow. We have to reset the schedule. But it's good to know that the documentation has been accepted now, and we can move forward.
Quick thing. They're still way behind, are they not, for reasons unrelated to Border Patrol problem with the Red Line cars in terms of delivery of what was committed? I'm right about that, or am I not?
Well, last year when we reset the contract, actually a little before that, they were on schedule to the new schedule. They were ready last year to accelerate and put on a third shift. And the quality of the cars continue to exceed the contract. So now this obviously has put in a dent into how the cars are coming. I don't know the schedule yet. Okay. We're going to be working on the next schedule. I will say this also, though. The administration, Governor Healy and the legislature have funded our workforce. Our vehicle maintenance folks under Mike Walsh really doing a phenomenal job in terms of ensuring our rolling stock is safe, reliable. And these Type 1 cars that should have been retired decades ago. Those are the things that they are making sure that we can use them, the Type 2s. I give a lot of credit, as you mentioned, Marjorie, to the workforce because they're doing things that, we should have retired those cars.
You weren't here when CRRC was chosen. I think it was under Governor Patrick, I believe I'm right. But in retrospect, in light of the Chinese government's record on human rights, which is not good, even apart from this Uyghur-related law, would you have awarded a contract to a state-owned company from China when it was done?
I think any competitive procurement, I have no concerns as long as procurement is done in a manner that allows it to be in the best interest, in this case of the Commonwealth and MBTA. In the rolling stock industry, the more competition, the better. It's a very challenging industry to be part of, and there's not a lot of folks that manufacture rolling stock, whether it's trains or buses. So from my perspective, we need to see that. And we do see how these cars are built differently in other parts, and actually CRC is probably the largest rolling stock manufacturer in the world.
In Springfield, we should say, by the way. Ron in Mansfield, you're on with Phil Eng. Hi.
Good afternoon, General Manager Eng.
Hi.
I wanted to know about the Plymouth commuter rail station. I know it's essentially been abandoned. There's tremendous amount of housing right in the neighborhood of the station, and it seems like reopening that station, even on a partial basis, would help to satisfy the Communities Act of the MBTA. Any attention being given to reopening that station, even on a partial basis?
Thank you for the question. There has been discussion about Plymouth and how best to serve them. That's a conversation that we've been having with the RTA, the Regional Transit Authority, in that area. If I remember correctly, one of the challenges with the way that station is configured is it requires multiple moves for a train. So if we were to consider things of that nature, how do we make sure the service is robust enough or sufficient enough that people would use it? So those are the things that we'll keep looking at. But I know we are working with the regional transit authorities to make sure that we can support housing, that we can support mass transportation options in Plymouth.
You know, we've had a couple of texts. The Globe is reporting that there were shots fired this morning at the Forest Hills MBTA station. Police were there. Do you know anything about what happened there?
Well, I can say this. Transit police responded promptly and quickly. Yep. The person has been apprehended. There is information. I do not believe anyone was injured, but I'm waiting for validation. It might. The reports of a shot fired is not necessarily that that actually happened. So we're getting more information.
You know, what is the story with transit police? You can't obviously have a transit police officer on every train, but what do you try to do in terms of ensuring safety for riders with the police?
Well, I think that's the one thing that we are focused on right now. Is allowing us to grow transit police workforce. I know that came up in some discussions in the past, and we have authorized hiring of more. The legislature and the governor supported some flexibility in the civil service rules that other transit police agencies had, so that allows us to attract more candidates off the civil service list. But what there really is about making sure, looking at all of the needs that we have, including new territories. How do you distribute them? How do you make sure they're mobile enough and quick enough? So that's why it's a combination of using the system as well as being in vehicles, because it depends on the response times. Obviously in events, they know where the key areas are that need their attention. They also know, based on his records, where some things may have more challenge and need a greater presence. I will say that the transit system, and thank you to our transit police leadership and officers, is seeing a decline in numbers, and that's a testament to their presence. I also think it's due to the public as well, and in heeding the advice. So these are all types of things where we need the public to know our system is safe, and it is one that. Because of everyone, it's really coming together well. As ridership comes back even more, safety will always be paramount regardless.
Let's go to Ron in Mansfield. Thank you for calling, Ron. Oh, we did just take him. I'm sorry.
You were really good, Ron.
He was great. That's why I wanted to have him come back. Okay, so we have a texter that wants to know about Central Mass. Says they're waiting for you to come up and visit there. Wants to get people to the train stations, and they would like you to come out there. I have no idea what's going on in Central Mass with transportation. What is going on?
Well, I think in general, everybody wants to see how transportation serves them. And I have been to Central Mass, but maybe not where that texter was. I'm more than happy to come out. I've been out to Western Mass, Northern, South. During the snowstorm, I was definitely in the Southeast. But
that was a mess.
That was something. But it's important for everyone, every constituent across the Commonwealth to know that we are looking at that. We recently had the opportunity to testify in front of Ways and Means on the budget proposals, and the Chapter 90 proposal from Governor Healy is one that is going to allow us to keep supporting municipalities across the entire Commonwealth, including Central Mass. The ability to help them with their roads, their bridges, safety components, transit-oriented development. This is the type of thing where my ability to get out and talk to people, to talk to local municipalities, to developers, it allows me to help see how transportation facilitates all of these different things of affordable housing, of jobs and businesses, because transportation is really all connected, working with our RTAs, with local roads, the highway system, and the MBTA's transit system. It really is important for that. And if I haven't been out there where he's specifically looking for, I will be.
Yeah, he didn't say exactly where he was from. He just said Central Mass.
One of the three men who is running for the Republican nomination to run against your boss, I think was the former acting GM of the T, Brian Shortsleeve. How did he do as GM?
I think I'll let the public decide on how that went.
No, I didn't ask if he'd be a good governor. How did he do as general manager of the T?
I'm not going to comment on that. All I will say is that we are reinvesting in the agency because it's not how much we spend or but it's how we spend it. And really making sure the system is safe, reliable is key. Going forward, the investments being made right now, we will show savings over time. We're seeing ridership come back. That's the key to supporting some of those needs. But really, it's the ability to find efficiencies. And a prior board meeting, we talked about the hiring on our vehicle maintenance side. And I talked a little bit here today. We are now doing bus overhauls in-house, in Everett shops. And we had originally planned to put that out for a contract that we estimate to be over $120 million. Doing it in-house, we're going to do it for about $40 million.
Wow.
So if you think about that cost savings, not only is it going to be better for us, better for the taxpayers, as we grow that skill set and keep it, we're going to be able to offer those services, I believe, to the regional transit authorities and allow them to have
An answer to the short sleeve question. Before you go, Phil Eng, you are a pretty popular character in Massachusetts, as you know, which is generally not the case with people who run the T. What is it not? It isn't. I mean, that's a fact. I don't mean that to slight anybody. What is it that's frustrating you in your tenure? I mean, almost virtually everything that people have commented on here, it is rare that a politician or someone that is tangentially connected to politics receives as much praise. There got to be things where you feel you haven't done things as well and as quickly as you would have liked. What's at the top of that list, Phil Eng?
I think what drives me both in terms of keep going, but also I wish I could address is, things that take too long.
Like what? What's the top of that list?
Well, improving service, capital delivery. We actually just successfully in the final part of a procurement for the North Station Drill 1. And when I got here in 2023, we had the agency had decided we're going to go to 100% design and we're going to put it out for what we call traditional low bid. And then we were at 70% design, and I said, this is such a complex job. It's such an important component to all our service in the North. I paused the design at 70%, and we said, let's take a look at design build. That contract, had we gone 100%, was talking about over 8 years of construction.
Wow.
The design build teams came back as we challenged the industry, and I love them. They came back with aggressive schedules like we asked. And both competitors came back with a 6.5-year schedule. So time is money. We also set it up where we're going to be able to run our regular service while we're building new movable bridges that carry all the service to the North and Commuter Rail. So that's the kind of thing where I'm going to always challenge the process. Not every time can we actually find those savings and things, but accelerating jobs, the Orange Line modernization of the signals. That was something I think was awarded in 2018. When I got here in 23, we had really no progress done. And that's not necessarily a full reason behind things, but we've accelerated, and now the Orange Line signals are fully modernized, digitized, giving us the ability to run better service now that we have new cars and we have improved tracks. Red Line's modernization of signals will be done this year as well.
In your free time, could you work on the show a little bit to just try to
I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll talk after the show.
That's right, and I'm going to become hired as a starfish expert. That's what I'm going to do.
That's how I free up more time.
That's right.
Phil Eng,
Thank you very much for being
Thanks so
here.
much for your time. We really
have been
appreciate
speaking
it.
with Phil Eng, who of course runs the T, and he also is the interim Secretary of Transportation. We very much appreciate Phil Eng's time. Okay, thank you for listening to another edition of Boston Public Radio. Thanks to everybody who came down to the Boston
Thank you all
Public
for
Library. I
coming.
really appreciate that. On Monday, we want to preview. We got Joy Behar. She's on The View. She's got this great new play. She's going to tell us about My First Ex-Husband. She's going to come on the show to talk about that. We'll also talk with Amherst professor and linguist Ilan Stavins, who edited the speeches of Cesar Chavez, who now has been revealed to have, well, I guess, should I say allegedly? I
don't think so.
Abused very, very young women, raping them and awful stuff. Anyway, we'll talk with Amherst professor about that. Tough Center for State Policy Analysis, Evan Horowitz, joins us on the ballot questions to watch coming in, and GBH's Jared Bowen will be with us too to preview the arts. Our crew, Zoe Matthews, Nicole Garcia, Hannah Loss, our engineer John LeClaw Parker, our executive producer Jane Bologna. Thanks to the BPL staff, Bill Francis, Patrick Lally, Angelica Marrero, Juan Jose Cadena, our host of the Newsfeed Cafe, and across the street at the Lenox Hotel. The Curiosity Desk is right after us, and the Culture Show is going to be right here at the library.
Bye.
I'm I'm Marjorie Egan.
See ya.
See ya. Have a great weekend.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
From the stories of centuries past to discoveries that will define our future, How Did We Get Here's how-tos and more. Journey with us down the rabbit hole on the Curiosity Desk. Coming up next on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And the Cambridge Homes, a nonprofit independent and assisted living residence proudly serving the Cambridge community and local seniors for more than 130 years. Learn more at thecambridgehomes.org/tradition. And Biogen. For nearly 50 years, Biogen has been committed to advancing biotechnology innovations to develop new medicines for people with hard-to-treat diseases. Biogen, making breakthroughs happen. Biogen.com.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org.
I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. Today on the Curiosity Desk, over on Comm Ave, there's a little yellow phone booth outside a coffee shop with the words "Call a Boomer" plastered on the side. There's no coin slot. All you need to do is pick it up to get connected with residents at a senior living facility in Reno, Nevada. Can intergenerational connections truly soothe the soul as its creators contend? Then, 100 years ago in a town near Worcester, the world's first liquid-fueled rocket blasted off from a cabbage farm. We'll look back at how its humble 41-foot journey launched humankind beyond the stratosphere. Plus, it's been called the apple's bastard cousin. It's fuzzy, it's bitter, and it's hard as a rock. But if you cook it right, it's also delicious. We'll show you how ahead this hour on the Curiosity Desk.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Israel damaged a key Iranian gas field. Global oil and energy prices remain volatile, with oil tankers not passing the Strait of Hormuz. NPR's Carrie Kahn reports.
Dubai reporting heavy explosions there as its air defense systems engaged incoming missiles and drones. An oil refinery in Kuwait was also hit today, and Qatari officials tallied damage estimates from an Iranian strike to a major natural gas complex there. They say it will top $20 billion in lost revenue.
The International Energy Agency says it's the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. It's asking governments, businesses, and households to conserve energy. The cost of oil is nearing $110 a barrel today, compared to around $70 before the war. Gas prices in the U.S. are up almost $1 in the past month. NPR has confirmed that more U.S. Marines are headed to the Persian Gulf. NPR's Quill Lawrence reports.
The USS Boxer group of 3 ships carrying thousands of Marines from the 11th Marine Expeditionary Unit has left California and will take about 3 weeks to reach the Gulf, according to 2 U.S. officials who were not authorized to speak publicly. That's in addition to the USS Tripoli group, with more than 2,000 Marines, expected to arrive soon from Japan. CENTCOM would not comment on the deployment or its mission, but Marines are traditionally ground troops. Also, U.S. Southern Command says it destroyed another small boat in the Eastern Pacific, allegedly carrying drugs. Southcom said the strike left 3 shipwrecked survivors. The U.S. has killed more than 150 people this way since September in what human rights groups say is execution without evidence or trial. Quill Lawrence, NPR News.
Martial arts star Chuck Norris, who fought his way to fame in such 1980s action movies as Delta Force, Code of Silence, and a trilogy of missing in action films, has died. He was 86. NPR's Bob Mondello has this remembrance.
In a fight, Chuck Norris tended to lead with his right foot. He all but trademarked a roundhouse kick that villains never seem to see coming. It served him well in more than 24 films after his pal Bruce Lee gave him his break as one of many villains in 1972's The Way of the Dragon. On TV, Norris played Sergeant Cordell Walker, a decorated Vietnam vet with Cherokee ancestry in about 200 episodes of Walker, Texas Ranger. Off-screen, he established philanthropies for children and veterans, became a nationally syndicated health and fitness columnist, and wrote 9 books, including the conservative activist handbook, Black Belt Patriotism, How to Reawaken America. He was also amused to find himself the subject of internet memes, Chuck Norris facts, that celebrated his supposed toughness with hyperbole and exaggeration. Bob Mondello, NPR News.
You're listening to NPR News from Washington.
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Newsroom, I'm Henry Santoro. President Trump's Justice Department has filed a new lawsuit today against Harvard University, saying its leadership failed to address anti-Semitism on campus. And now the department wants to freeze any existing grants it has with Harvard and seek repayment for billions of dollars in grants already paid. The lawsuit filed in federal court here in Massachusetts is yet another attempt by Trump to go to battle with Harvard. No word yet on how Harvard will proceed, but in a previous lawsuit, a federal judge ruled the government was using allegations of anti-Semitism as a smokescreen to cut funding from the university. Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey wants to allow hunting on Sundays in the state. The governor made the announcement yesterday at the Francis Crane Wildlife Management Area in East Falmouth. Healey says the law prohibiting Sunday hunting goes back to the days of the Puritans.
We still have a Sunday ban on hunting. It doesn't make any sense. So today, what I'm proud to announce is that we're going to propose to get rid of that Sunday hunting ban, legalize hunting on Sunday for the first time in state's history.
Healey said allowing people to hunt on Sundays will make it easier to manage the state's deer population and increase contributions to hunters' share of harvest. That's the mass wildlife program that gives hunters the opportunity to donate their venison to food pantries to be distributed to those in need. Celtics in Memphis tonight. March Madness continues today. Exhibition baseball. Red Sox at Tampa this afternoon. This is GBH News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include United States Postal Service, dedicated to putting reliability at the core of USPS Ground Advantage to help businesses operate smoothly. More at USPS.com/Ground Advantage.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. A mysterious new Call a Boomer payphone has recently been installed near Boston University. And when you pick up the phone outside Pavement Coffee House, it makes a direct call to the game room at a senior center in Reno, Nevada. The group behind the payphone describes it as a social experiment in connecting people across the country and across generations. Why link BU students to Reno seniors? Is there something deeper to be gained than simple small talk? Well, here via Zoom, we're joined by Callie Kessler from Matter Neuroscience, the tech startup behind the project. In a little while, we're also going to meet Matthew Kaplan. He's a professor of intergenerational programs and aging at Penn State University. But we start with you, Calla. Welcome to the Curiosity Desk.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So this phone has been up for, I think, almost 2 weeks or so. You're capturing these conversations. As you've presumably been listening to some of what has occurred, what has surprised you and the team at your company, Matter Neuroscience, the most so far?
You know, I wouldn't even say we're too surprised because our first iteration of this project was such a success. And I think it's well known that today in our isolated and polarized worlds that we crave connection, and younger adults and older adults are two of the loneliest demographics, which is why we wanted to connect them. And so it doesn't come as a surprise that these calls are going really well and people are enjoying one another's company. And I guess the surprising thing is you might not always expect to connect to a stranger, and you might not expect to feel so good afterwards, but it can go a long way just having one positive interaction with someone. And I think that these payphones are evidence to that.
Now, we call them payphones, but it does not cost anybody to use it. Can you just walk us through a little bit? Say I am walking down Comm Ave here and I see this phone. What happens? I pick it up and then it rings a phone on the other end somewhere in Reno, Nevada. Can I do it 24 hours a day? Like, give me some details here.
Yeah, so you can do it 24 hours a day, although I don't think that the older folks would be in the game room at all hours of the night.
That's what you think, but I don't know. The game room,
right,
it's a good guess.
That's right. So the payphones are outfitted with internet phones. So they're programmed to only call each other. And my colleague Logan, who did the installation and building of these payphones, essentially sourced them from Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace and then fit them to do this unique thing with the internet phones that only call each other.
So you mentioned your first iteration of this project. Tell us a little bit about that. That was a little bit of a different kind of quote-unquote, I guess, social experiment. This was, I assume you're referring to a connection of one phone in Abilene, Texas, one phone in San Francisco, California. The one in California, I think, says something like call a conservative. The one in Texas says call a liberal or something along those lines, right? And that's something that's been up for some time now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we started with that one because, again, we live in this polarized world, and our mission there was to encourage cannabinoids over cortisol. And cannabinoids are our feel-good neurotransmitter in our brain that is responsible for the feeling of friendship love when combined with dopamine. And cortisol is our primary stress hormone. And the more you can activate cannabinoids in your brain, the happier you're going to feel, and those positive emotions can reduce the negative effects of cortisol, which can have not only bad effects on your health mentally, but also physically.
We're talking to Calla, Kessler from Matter Neuroscience. They're the folks behind this phone on Boston Common where presumably a Zoomer can call a Boomer. We have a little tape from one of these calls that I want to play a little. This is somebody named Charlotte in Boston calling April at the Senior Center in Reno, Nevada. And here's a little bit of that exchange. We're going to play that right now.
We are outside a coffee shop called Pavement, where the phone thing is, and we just noticed it, so we decided to pick up and see what happens.
It's great. I think it's great. Do you have any advice for me?
Any advice?
Like for your generation, like how to better communicate or anything like that?
I think that everybody should just kind of get off their phones and get out and do things by themselves and meet other people that are doing things by themselves.
Amen.
That's what I like to do.
That's me too.
What about you? Do you have any advice for me?
I think smiling through pain, just always showing a smile, even if you're upset or anything, because a smile goes so far, even if you don't know the people. But yes, I love your idea.
It was great talking to you.
Great talking to you too. You have a blessed day.
You too.
Thank you. Bye.
So, Cal, is that pretty typical of what you've been hearing?
It is. Sometimes it gets a little deeper, but I feel like that one was pretty deep. And it's these simple conversations that you just hang up afterwards and you walk away and you're like, that was actually really nice. And you feel kind of good, and you can carry that positivity with you for the rest of the day and hopefully pay it forward to another stranger.
So what's the idea here, Cal, in terms of, I think on its face, you hear about something like this and, I sort of see it and I go, oh, I kind of get what they're doing. But also, what happens on the back end here? I mean, you've sort of referred to it as a social experiment. Are you doing something with this data that you're collecting? Is there a deliverable for you at the end of this, or is it literally just we're putting it out into the world and just seeing what happens?
We are seeing what happens. We didn't know how the call a Democrat, call a Republican line would go. We were a little bit nervous about that, but we were pleasantly surprised at all the positivity that came from it. And so we just wanted to try a different iteration. And so we're not looking for quantitative results from this. We just want to share the conversations and hopefully encourage people to get out of their comfort zones and spread kindness to a stranger. But our company does do actual science-based research as well.
How do these sort of phone experiments, where do they fit into the larger picture of what you do at Matter Neuroscience?
The phone experiments are just to give people a general understanding of how relationships can make us happy. So we're not getting too deep into the neuroscience of it, but we're just hammering home the idea that our relationships are the bedrock of a happy life, whether it's with our neighbors, our friends, our communities, even strangers.
All right, so we're gonna add somebody to the conversation right now. We are gonna welcome in Matthew. Matthew, as we said, Matthew Kaplan is a professor of intergenerational programs and aging at Penn State University. Matthew, this is, as we said with this phone experiment, it is about, presumably, hopefully, connecting people of different generations. This is obviously in your wheelhouse. I wonder, can you say, is there something inherently distinct about intergenerational relationships as opposed to any other kind of friendship or relationship?
Well, I don't know if I would call it distinct, but when you get authentic communication and relationship formation with others, that's wonderful. So intergenerational connections is a huge subset of that. So there are people like me who call ourselves intergenerational specialists, and we design and test different ways to bring people together. And I think this initiative is really innovative. I've heard of all kinds of intergenerational models, which people really talk about how it helps to address social isolation and loneliness and so forth. And I think, this phone call model is really interesting. And I was pleasantly surprised. And people like me have millions of ideas on how to leverage it into more permanent, telephone and other kinds of settings to extend that conversation so it becomes a relationship. And when people have relationships, that's sort of the golden realm of intergenerational work, because then you matter to other people, they matter to you.
When you say that word models, what other sort of models are there out there when we talk specifically about building intergenerational connections?
Wow. That's a big question. I'll try to be brief.
Explain everything you do in 5 minutes, please.
Well, I look at it kind of like an umbrella. There are many ways in which intergenerational connections are important. So within the first of all, within our health and wellness, it's encouragement to eat better when you're communicating and working together within the family across generations. To do exercise and so forth, family strengths, to be able to understand better about intergenerational caregiving and so forth. Also recreational programs, people to do sports together, to come out and walk together and so forth. And then we have people who design environments to create parks where entire families can go and enjoy a space together rather than, have everything monogenerational, like a kid can play over here, senior plays far away. So, in many ways, intergenerational, there are all kinds of examples. I mean, where people can get to know one another. You have senior centers with mentorship programs, volunteers in schools. You have students who are going to people with Meals on Wheels programs to not only deliver meals, but actually go in the house and for conversation, which is very meaningful as well to the seniors.
I want to sort of talk to you both about a couple of things here. One is the notion of different generations, in particular these two generations that we're talking about, Calla, with your project, Boomers and Zoomers. There are other generations out there, including, say, Gen X, which kind of flies under the radar these days. But I feel like there are a lot of stereotypes right now, particularly around Boomers and Zoomers. And I wonder about, does that stand in the way, of people building relationships with each other in both of your experience? I'll start with you, Calla.
I would say with any two groups, stereotypes and general misconceptions do stand in the way of building a relationship. But I think that when you're presented either face-to-face or line to line with somebody and you actually have a conversation, the amount of common ground you might have will surprise you. I think we all want similar things for our lives. We want our family and friends to be happy. We want to achieve our goals, and though we might have different approaches, we want the same things. And I think that there's room for conversation there.
Matt?
Yeah, stereotypes, ageism, which works both ways across the lifespan, are devastating for people to be even open to communicating. And then when communication happens, if someone, let's say, if a younger person feels that an older person needs to be spoken to slowly and loudly,
yeah,
or even avoided, or older adults might see a group of youth, uh-oh, that's dangerous, they're not even going to meet. But when they do meet, including on these phone calls, they realize, hey, this person's actually kind of cool. This person has something to teach me. This person cares about my education and wants to know me more. So, yeah, stereotype busting is really key. And from there, many things can happen. You could have, shopping buddies. You could have learning about nutrition, cooking together. You could have, people getting civically engaged in community gardens together. But you have to get past that stereotypes issue. And usually with getting to know you activities, that we have all sorts of models here at Penn State Extension, our intergenerational program, all sorts of ways for people to meet and get to know one another and have enduring relationships.
Yeah, it's like people like to roll their eyes sometimes at icebreakers, but the thing is like they work, right? Like like a getting to know you activity, as cheesy as it can sound, you kind of be like, yeah, this is cheesy, but also it works. It starts to break down those walls. Calla, I saw you nodding there as Matthew was speaking.
Yes, I was nodding. I mean, everything he's saying rings true, and I think is really important because we go through our days and we see the same people, our colleagues, the people we live with, or maybe we live alone, and maybe we go to bars or coffee shops, but you kind of get stuck in the same demographic, and so you're not exposed to these alternate perspectives. And I think being able to break out of the usual and talk to an older person, it makes a difference on both ends. Like, I think the older person really values, like, look at this young whippersnapper, taking the time of day, give me the time of day. And then vice versa, like being, an older person has this lived experience and they have wisdom to share.
You said at the beginning, Cal, and one of the reasons why Matter Neuroscience, kind of decided to do this is that there's research out there that suggests younger and older people are the two loneliest demographics. Why do we think this is? Is this something unique to these two particular generations, these demographics in this time and place, or is this something that we see generation after generation after generations? Is there something about those two times of life that these groups are the loneliest?
I think right now for younger people, with the rise of like social media and remote work and just being on our phones more often, we're just less inclined to talk to strangers on the street. And there's also a decrease in third spaces, which are places other than home and work that you can go to and hang out in. And I think those barriers are often financial, just they don't exist. Like in the winter, you can't really go to the park for free and have a picnic with friends. Everything kind of costs money. And in this economy, it's just unsustainable for a lot of young people. So they just stay home and they scroll and they're not really good getting out of their comfort zone to meet new people. And, maybe Matt can speak to the older generations and why they might experience more loneliness.
Yeah, Matthew, what do you got on this?
There are people who study history, cultural anthropology, and talk about how urbanization in many societies actually does make it harder for different generations to even be together. So, in rural society, you have families living together, multi-generational families, and then, in terms of urbanization, people going for jobs and so forth, they're further away. So it affects how caregiving happens. It also delimits the role of older adults, of grandparents, in terms of influence over the family and so forth. But what we have now is a movement, I call it an intergenerational movement, where families are finding ways to live really near each other still, and also the institutions that separate us. So a lot of schools are now, rather than only young people, they're including senior volunteers, senior mentors, and universities. You have university-based retirement communities. You have age-friendly universities. So in creating some of the structural interventions where people can not only see each other and have contact, but actually learn together and plan things together. So we do realize the isolation is really detrimental. The social networks could be much broader and more supportive of people's development through the rough spots. But this is a very positive movement, and I feel like this is this innovation that we're talking about here with the phones. It's an interesting piece to it, helping to get people started to be more open to connecting and finding intergenerational programs.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. We're talking with Callie Kessler from Matter Neuroscience, Penn State professor Matthew Kaplan about a phone booth in Boston that links younger and older people. I want to give you both a kind of looking to the future question to end us off. I'm going to start with you, Matt. You know, as you say, this is you hear this, and this seems like an innovative entry point, in your mind. And so with what you do, with what you study, when you think about if somebody's hearing this and they think, oh, this phone's kind of cool, I would try that, or someone is listening and they have tried the phone, and they sort of have taken that first step, what's the next step they can take? How do you take that sort of notion that you're interested in this and move it into the next phase?
Well, Boston's a big city. You have a lot of universities and nonprofit programs who are basically are innovating with intergenerational work as well. So I would do a quick search online, intergenerational programs in my area. So that's one thing. So also, I think even the fact that this show is on NPR, it's affecting public awareness of the importance of intergenerational connections. So, you'll find out about other innovations. Like there's one program I know about, where grand families, grandmother and a granddaughter can get discounts by getting their hair done together. Or there's like a martial arts studio in State College, Pennsylvania, that has family discounts. Grandparents register for half price. So breaking the stereotypes, oh, you're over 60, you're over 50, you're not going to want to work out. No, we'll do it together because we got to move and our health depends upon exercise. So this fits in really nicely and builds curiosity. It's funny that it's called the Curiosity Desk.
Hey, that's what we're all about.
Exactly. So this is it, man. It's happening and the movement's going on internationally. So this is it's time to dive in and learn something. Provide something, support somebody of a different generation, build your social networks.
Indeed. And Calla, for you, what's the future of this phone booth? Does it stay up for longer? Do you do it in more cities? Do you have another kind of phone booth on the horizon that's coming?
Yeah, so the phone booth, we entered into an agreement with our hosts for a month, and if they're open to keeping it active, then that's cool with us. We'll see how long it'll stay up, and I would say Matter is always going to be doing innovative stunts like this, whether the payphone takes another form or it's something different, but we'll always be focused on connection. And another thing is that we're pretty open source about this project. We've shared on our Instagram feed, Matter Neuroscience, how we made these phone booths. And so we welcome people to make their own. It's not too expensive to sustain. And if you can get crafty on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace to get the actual payphones, if you're a little handy, it's doable. And we've had lots of people like reach out, oh, I want a phone booth, or how do I do this? So we encourage people to get creative, and they're welcome to take that IP and make it happen.
There you go. Matthew, I feel like maybe there's a phone booth in State College, Pennsylvania coming soon.
Thanks. I just want... Oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead. Real quick, Matt.
Real quick. One thing that I really like about the phone booth project is that the people online, they have some choice in terms of what to talk about, how light to keep it, how deep to go. And that's a big principle of effective programs, that it's participant-driven and centered, which I really take my hat off to you folks.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, we've been speaking with Callie Kessler from Matter Neuroscience and Matthew Kaplan, a professor of intergenerational programs and aging at Penn State University, about the benefits of intergenerational connections. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Just ahead, GBH's Sam Turken takes us behind the scenes from his reporting on the world's first modern rocket, which was launched 100 years ago at a farm outside Worcester. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. Stay with us.
I'm Jared Bowen. Today on The Culture Show, if your internet's slowed, it's probably not a cyber attack, just 150 million BTS fans racing to download the K-pop band's comeback album. Speaking of comebacks, Jay-Z is back in an Empire state of mind. After years shaping pop culture as a producer, he's returning to the stage for 2 shows at Yankee Stadium. Tune in for that and more on our Arts and Culture Week in Review, today at 2 on 89.7 GBH.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And Seasons 4, the outdoor living store in Lexington, featuring over 100 styles of outdoor furniture delivered throughout New England, plus a wide selection of plants, statuary, and garden accessories. Spring events in progress. Seasons4.com. And Boston Ballet, presenting The Dream, a program pairing Frederick Ashton's Shakespeare-inspired ballet and a dynamic world premiere by emerging choreographer Michael Stromae. On stage now through March 29th. Tickets at bostonballet.org.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We are streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News.
Start, 2, 1, booster ignition, and liftoff.
Yeah. Picture a rocket taking off. It's massive, it's loud, it lights up the sky. Makes us wonder what the first launch was like, and it turns out that maiden voyage took place 100 years ago in Auburn, Massachusetts. It wasn't quite as big and loud. We had metal tubes welded together. It was launched from a cabbage farm. The rocket climbed an astonishing 41 feet, which is, picture a 4-story building. So not that high, but that small step taken in a cabbage field would pioneer the giant leap of our modern space age. And GBH reporter Sam Turken covered this story in an excellent piece that you can read on gbhnews.org. Welcome, Sam.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Sam, your story begins, and I hope you will begin with us, in a cabbage field.
Yeah.
Well, actually, a golf course now,
It's a golf
right?
course now. Before, it was a cabbage farm. I've never been to a cabbage farm before, so I don't quite know what that looks like.
It seems so old-timey, right? You're like, cabbage farm? Like,
yeah.
What's something that happened in the past? You're like, cabbage farms.
Right. But the scientist, Robert Goddard, who was responsible for all this, it was his aunt's cabbage farm. So he had been doing a lot of testing at, universities around Worcester. They eventually chased him away. They were done with all the explosions. So he felt like, for this test, I got to go to a cabbage farm where I have more space, maybe a little bit safer.
Yeah. So in this story, you kind of give us, this sense of Robert Goddard as this, obviously very important figure. How did you come across this story in the first place, that, that you sort of realized, hey, we're at this anniversary and this is something we ought to cover?
Well, Robert Goddard is one of Worcester's sons.
Yeah.
Who Worcester's very proud of. You speak to historians in Worcester, and they'll constantly tell you, the smiley face was birthed here. I was born here. Diners, right? We did a story on diners. Yes, although that's more contentious. It's not necessarily from Worcester, but it got it exploded in Worcester. I think that's the way to put it.
Popularized.
Exactly. So anyway, I'd known about Robert Goddard, and then I was speaking to a local historian, and he reminded me, this was toward the end of last year, beginning of this year, that the centennial's coming up, and I thought, oh wow, this is a big story. We better do something on it. I'm sure everybody's going to want to do something on it, even though a lot of folks don't know who Robert Goddard is.
So let's talk a little bit about Robert Goddard. Who is he, and what did you learn about him as you reported this story out?
Yeah, so he was this really ambitious scientist who had a dream. I mean, not to sound cliche, but the idea of going to space, leaving Earth, was really science fiction around his time when he was growing up.
Yeah, so we're talking the 1920s. It's 100 years ago, right? So this is in the 1920s.
A little earlier, when he was growing up.
Oh,
he had the realization.
Oh, I see, yeah.
When he had the realization to go to space, I believe in 1899, when he was 17. It was around that time. And he was basically decided at that point, I'm going to figure out a way to get to Mars, to get to space.
He's like, I'll do it. I'll be the one.
There you go. And it has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was really science fiction. And, you had novels like War of the Worlds, which a lot of people may now remember as a movie with Tom Cruise. And there was a more recent movie with Tom Cruise. I thought what was even funnier is it was adapted into a radio broadcast in the 1930s and
Very
infamous.
famous.
Yep.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Robert Goddard, once he realized he wanted to do this, he just plugged away and went to school, became a researcher. Obviously, a really smart guy who figured all this out.
And what was his big innovation here? So, it is... he is the first rockets or, quote unquote rockets. I mean, you read about, the history of, the first anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, right? And they're like, well, we had fireworks in the sky. So there were quote unquote rockets. What did he do that was different?
I told a lot of the people I spoke to for the story, maybe the part of the reason why they don't know who Robert Goddard is because technically he launched the first liquid-fueled rocket.
Okay.
I mean, what's a liquid-fueled rocket? If you don't know what rockets are and you don't really know, I mean, that's just going to go over people's heads.
Yeah.
So essentially the way to look at it is the first modern rocket, the way rockets are today, he essentially laid the blueprint for that. He launched the first one, and they relied on liquid fuel. Before him, they relied on solid fuel, basically like fireworks, right, with gunpowder.
So gunpowder, yeah.
Exactly. Liquid fuel relied on a combination of like gasoline, kerosene, liquid oxygen. And the advantage of it was that, and still is, that it provides a lot more thrust, a lot more power, and you can control it. Whereas with gunpowder, it's just an explosion. It's like a stick of dynamite. You light it, explodes.
It shoots off.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then that's it.
Right.
So walk us through what he did, what he did in this cabbage field with this liquid-fueled rocket the first time he was successful. Like, paint the picture for us. What happens?
Yeah, so it was a snowy day. Cabbage field looked a lot like the golf course now, just wide open expanse, snowy. And he brought this weird-looking contraption over, and he put it together there. And
this is all his design, and he's building it
all his
himself.
design. He did have assistants, and his wife played a big role throughout his career, and not just filming and taking videos of some of his launches, but also recording his notes, stuff like that. So she was there. And then it was this weird-looking contraption that looked nothing like rockets today, almost looked jerry-rigged, which I tried to describe in my story. But one of his assistants lit it from the top of the rocket, coincidentally, and then it went up 42 feet for 2.5 seconds. And
that was that.
That was that. And he really didn't make a big deal out of it. He just thought it was the next step in his research.
But it was a break, it's one of these things that history will show. It was a breakthrough. As you sort of look back, you go, oh, actually, this was the moment when it first worked.
Right. And also, he not only did that, but he really developed... He pioneered other modern...
from there.
Yeah. Like, so the way a rocket looks today, he eventually came up with that. He was the first to come up with the nose cone, at the top of a rocket, and, the fins at the bottom.
Yeah.
So he did a lot more stuff throughout his career to lead to what we have today.
We're talking with Sam Turken from GBH News about an excellent piece he's done on the 100th anniversary of the first liquid fuel rocket in Auburn, Massachusetts. You mentioned the fact that today, in and around Worcester, he's a favored son. He's, very well remembered and something that everybody's proud of. What was his experience at the time when he's doing things like building some crazy rocket and going out into a cabbage field to like launch into the air? Were people like, this guy's gonna make it, or was that not his experience?
I mean, I asked the historian this. Was he just like viewed as this wacky, crazy, stereotypical professor, research scientist?
Yeah, just like local curiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sure, he's gonna go to space.
Right, and he was. People doubted what he was trying to do, and they criticized him. Some people called him the Moon Man, apparently. And you actually had a New York Times article that completely criticized his idea and his research, basically saying it wasn't possible for anything to work in space because space is a vacuum, right? And so the rocket exhaust would have nothing to push up against in space. And after the moon landing, the New York Times issued a correction. This was 40-something years later.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Basically saying we were wrong. Rockets work in space.
That's so good. Yeah. I love that. Here we are now 100 years after this fact. As you said, he's widely remembered in Worcester. How is he remembered more broadly, and has he gotten his just due beyond, say, central Massachusetts in your estimation?
I think if you're a planetary scientist, a rocket scientist, someone who works in those fields, you know him. But from what I've heard and just my own experience, most people don't know who he is. And that's in part because after the criticism, he became very insular, very secretive. And then also throughout the 30s and 40s, up until he died, really, we were preoccupied with building the atomic bomb. Rockets were not a focus for us. They were in Germany, but it was the bomb for us. And it wasn't until really later on, after he died, the space race with the Soviet Union, where we've started to focus on it. And by that point, he had passed, and you had another scientist, Werner von Braun, who had come over from Germany, who got a lot of the credit for spearheading the rocket program here.
But here we sit now. I think a lot of people, if you're, people who are interested in space stuff, are looking forward to the Artemis 2, which is going to launch pretty soon. And, that being launched via a rocket, that's a thanks, Robert Goddard, for getting us here.
Look, we have a spacecraft on its way to one of Jupiter's moons, Europa. It's a 4-year mission, I believe. I didn't realize it until working on this story. So, yeah, there is so much that we can thank Robert Goddard for. Everything that goes to space, satellites, spacecraft, satellites that allow for communication, GPS, rockets take it there, take everything there. And Robert Goddard allowed for those rockets.
Thank you, Central Massachusetts, yet again. We've been speaking with GBH's Sam Turken about the world's first modern rocket launched 100 years ago in Massachusetts. You can check out Sam's reporting at gbhnews.org. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you, Edgar.
Stay with us. Just ahead, it's been called the bastard cousin of the apple. It is hairy. It's rock hard. But if you cook it right, the results can be mythic. This is the Curiosity Desk on GBH. Don't go anywhere.
When Andre recalled cancer, he thought it was a cruel joke, but still a funny one.
He lived his life using humor to get through all the hard times and the good times. It was just part of his core.
I'm Arun Roth. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, this week's Joy Beat, how the film Andre is an Idiot finds joy where you would least expect it. That and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Support for GBH comes from you.
And Babson College, where you can advance your career with an MBA or specialized master's at the school ranked number 2 best college in the United States by the Wall Street Journal 2025. Babson.edu/grad programs. And Biogen. For nearly 50 years, Biogen has been committed to advancing biotechnology innovations to develop new medicines for people with hard-to-treat diseases. Biogen, making breakthroughs happen. Biogen.com.
You're listening to the Curiosity Desk on GBH. I'm Edgar B. Herwick III. We're streaming live at youtube.com/GBH News. And welcome back now to another edition of our segment, The Secret Ingredient. We are here to help you make the most of that dusty, that forgotten piece of produce in your pantry, or introduce you to a food you've never considered cooking with. Could be Spam, celery root, it has been in the past, or a fruit you may only recognize from its mention in the Old English poem, The Owl and the Pussycat. Here's a little sound of the incomparable Dame Judi Dench reading that poem.
They sailed away and were married next day by the turkey who lived on the hill. They dined on mince and slices of quince, which they ate with a runcible spoon, and hand in hand on the edge of the sand. They danced by the light of the moon.
Yeah. Well, so today's curiosity question is, we know what mince is. We might not know what runcible is, but the real question is, what in God's name is a quince? With us in studio, James Beard award-winning chef and co-founder of Maymay Dumplings, Irene Li.
Hello.
And Kelcey Rush, co-chef at Somerville Spoke Wine Bar, which, speaking of James Beard, just got nominated for Outstanding Bar. Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Let's get into the quince. What is a quince?
So the quince is this fruit that looks sort of like a pear and an apple combined.
So if you're watching us on the YouTube stream, we've got a quince in studio. If you are just listening to us, I would describe it. It looks like a lump. Yeah, it looks like sort of a lumpy yellow apple, or an apple and a pear had a baby.
But if you hold it up to your nose, you'll so it's super aromatic.
Ooh.
And this is even less aromatic than some of the older and wilder varieties.
Really?
But that's part of their value is these really aromatic qualities to it.
That's really nice. Where does one get a quince?
Around here, you can get them at Eataly. But at this moment, that's probably your best bet. There are a few orchards in Vermont that grow them, and those tend to be available around December. But at this late in the year, they don't really have that many in storage anymore.
Okay, so not a hugely available and or popular fruit then, it sounds like, here in the United States. But are there other parts of the world where the quince is a little bit more available and maybe a little bit more commonly used?
Yeah, so you've probably encountered it in the form of membrillo, which is the quince paste that is often found with Spanish cheeses. And the word, in Spanish it's membrillo, in Portuguese it's marmelo, which is where we get marmalade from.
Oh.
And it was the precursor to orange marmalade that's invented much later, but the cooked down orange sticky quince paste is the original marmalade. So you find it a lot in Spanish and Portuguese cuisine.
Okay. Irene, what do you got on the quince for us?
Well, I mean, I thought it was super interesting that the quince is from kind of the Middle East, the Caucasus region, from Greece. Lots of mentions in myth. And there's also a cousin of the quince, which is called mogwa, or the Chinese quince, which has similar properties. And you can even sometimes find it at H Mart. You might find a version in a jar for making tea with. So I always love to just see these kind of like cross-cultural connections.
Yeah.
And one of the really cool things about the quince, I think what's great about this segment is like we take something that maybe isn't that attractive and perhaps in its raw form is a little bit off-putting. So a raw quince can be really astringent. But what we learn from our chef friends is that you can turn it into something really beautiful with a little bit of love and technique.
That's really nice. Now, could you eat just a raw quince? I mean, is it doable that way?
So this variety is called a pineapple quince, and it's been selected through time to be much more palatable, and you could technically eat this raw. In the past, the more wild versions, the older versions, extremely tannic, and you would not want to. But now we've selected this one.
So this is edible raw. Like, could I just bite into it?
I meant to bring a vegetable peeler so you could try a strip of it.
But take a bite.
Okay.
Why not?
I'll give it a try.
Absolutely.
I'll give it a try. So one of our producers, Rachel, has called this a roided up pear, which is a funny. All right, I'm going to try this here.
And as you're experiencing that, one of the other things is that the quince is an amazing source of pectin, which is what allows those jams, jellies, marmalades to actually set up and kind of have that nice gelatinous texture. So it's, got its own flavor, but it's also an amazing tool in your toolkit if you're a cook trying to create something that has a certain body to it.
So here's what I would say about this. The skin's a little thick.
Yeah.
The skin kind of tastes like a pear skin, though. And then the inside is kind of grainy. It's like, when people are like, I don't like red delicious apples because they're still kind of grainy and like mealy.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's kind of like that, but the taste is good. Like, the taste is pretty good raw. Like, it's not bad.
And you're in for a treat because we have some good versions
so
here
you were
that we
saying,
think you're really going to like.
Cooking is the way to do it. We're talking with chefs Kelcey Rush and Irene Li about cooking with quinces. And Kelcey, you know from cooking with quinces a little bit, so you're going to talk us through how one might cook some and how you cook them.
Yeah, so I brought you the most basic cooked version of it, so you can contrast that texture and that flavor with the bite that you just took out of the raw one.
Okay.
So basically...
How did you cook this?
Right, so... you cook them mostly in sugar syrup. So if you make simple syrup, equal parts sugar and water, and you throw in a lemon, the tannins, I'm not a scientist, but my understanding is that the tannins, which is what makes that chalky feel in your mouth, are bound up with the anthocyanins, which are those red pigments that you see in red cabbage.
Okay.
And as you cook it with sugar, heat, and acid, the anthocyanins and the tannins break down. And so that releases, it goes from that pale yellow color to that deep red color that's in your hand.
Yeah, it's a beautiful sort of deep red color. I'm going to have a little bit here. Elizabeth on YouTube says quinces smell so good. I agree, they do.
They have almost like a guava kind of tropical aroma. Yeah.
And the thing that makes me so excited about them is deep in the midst of winter, when we have cabbages and potatoes and all of these root vegetable-y things, we have this beautiful floral, tropical, aromatic.
It's this cooked way. Tropical is the word. It tastes like a delicious tropical. This is really good. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's tasty. Nicely done. You're a good cook.
Thanks. You can basically, in about 10 minutes, you would have of simmering in sugar water, you would have a perfectly edible piece of quince that you could put with like a pork roast or anything you wanted to eat it with. After about 2 hours of slow simmering, it'll transform into that dense, silky, russet red kind of texture.
I really like that. All right, we're talking with chefs Kelcey Rush and Irene Li about cooking with quinces. If I'm feeling more adventurous, if I'm ready for more, how else can I cook a quince?
So I tend to stick to a pretty basic cooking of it. It really doesn't... I wouldn't say it has an advantage to doing more to it. So the both ways that you have it here, it's cooked just like that, but paired with cake for a sweet version.
I see.
And then the version that you have on that cracker is lamb rillette.
All right, so let's start with this crack. Okay, so what do we have here? We've got a cracker.
Yeah.
We've got lamb rillette, and then this there's like a paste here, and this is the quince.
So that's the quince, and I've just cooked it down with some chili flakes. So there's another dimension to that flavor. So you have sweet and hot, and then the lamb rillette has lots of cumin in it. We're going for like a northern Chinese, like cumin lamb kind of profile.
Okay.
And then rice crackers.
I have to try this.
I
resisted.
Irene's coming. Yeah, I know.
Quince,
I saw you there. Literally, I was like, I think you're salivating, Irene. There's a little bit. Here we go.
But yeah, so a lot of people cook the quince with warm spices like cinnamon, allspice, and those things. I find there are so many of those flavors already present in the quince that I don't want to double down on it. I want to just bring them out and amplify them. Yep. So the chili is the only other flavor besides the quince in that paste.
In the paste. And also against the lamb, there's a lot of cumin in that lamb, and I happen to love cumin.
Delicious.
So like that with the quince too is just like, whoa.
Awesome.
That's really, really good. That is... I'm going to just take one.
Yeah, keep eating. I also love what you said, Kelcey, before about how like you could simmer it and just serve it with some pork loin, as kind of a stand-in for like roasted pork with apples.
Right.
And I just love like the jam and meat and the use of fruit in savory applications. I feel like it spoke... Your use of typically savory ingredients in sweet dishes and vice versa is one of the most exciting things that you do. This is just a great kind of classic, but, it's an example of that with a little twist on it. I love that.
Yeah. So we got a little poll going on our YouTube channel right now. We've asked people if quinces are going to be the next secret ingredient they try. 60% right now say, yeah, of course. 40%, a little bit on the fence. We'll see if we can get those numbers up a little bit. Okay, so you said you have quince another. Now you've done another thing with it for us here.
Yeah, so just to illustrate its versatility, if you've had it with meat and you think, great, that pairs really well.
It is really nice with meat.
So then really I've also done a dessert with it to show you that it can also be soft and sweet. So here the quince is just poached as you had it with it for your first bite. With a lemon almond poppy seed cake and pandan lemon curd. Oh. So in order to really triple down on all those floral flavors, we've got almond with those kind of floral nutty notes, and then the pandan lemon curd with a little bit of sourness and a little bit of nuttiness from the pandan.
All right.
Which maybe someone else will do for a secret ingredient.
Definitely.
Yeah, this is also delicious. This is really good.
So if you haven't been to Spoke Wine Bar, you're hearing all
I was
about it
gonna
now.
ask. So tell us about Spoke. Tell us all about Spoke. Is it you do things other than Quince?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So we are technically called a wine bar, but we are a very full-service restaurant. And my co-chef Paul and I really have built out this menu of really just everything that we're excited about and things that we would want to see on a menu if we went out to eat. And it's really, I like to think that we offer people an opportunity to have an adventure if they want it and have something really familiar if they are not feeling that. But I feel like so many of the dishes you could appreciate on a surface level or a deeper level if you want. I remember you came in once when we had chicken sausage on.
Yes.
And you said, I wouldn't have chicken sausage anywhere except Spoke, but I know you must be doing something with it.
You must be doing something weird.
What did they do with what did they do with the chicken?
I don't know, but it was delicious.
It
What did you do?
had a white tea butter sauce.
Wow, so good.
Roasted apricots, so meat and fruit again.
Yeah.
Lots of dried tangerine peel in the sausage itself, and Celtus. On the plate.
Right.
So obviously fruit, sausage, butter, delicious. But there were so many dimensions to the white tea that kind of paired with the apricots, and so many of those flavors connected in ways that could be more interesting if you wanted to think about it more.
I love that. I know every time I go to Spoke that I am going to try either an ingredient or a flavor combination that I've never had before.
Yeah.
And for, I eat out a lot. Yeah. So to get that experience and to be able to trust Paul and Kelcey to take you on some kind of ride that's going to be amazing. Like for me as a cook and as a chef, it's just such a treat to get to eat there. The one thing I think about all the time is you had a burrata dish that was dressed with chili crisp. And I was like, oh my gosh, this Chinese-Italian situation is blowing my mind. So I love eating, the little mozzarella balls just kind of tossed in chili crisp. That's like a go-to hors d'oeuvre in my house now.
Yeah.
I'm feeling like you like chili a little bit, Kelcey.
I do, yeah. There's so many different flavors and levels of heat and just all sorts of different things you can do with them.
So how do you, when it comes to an ingredient like quince, how do you encounter it? Or are you like, I'm a chef, I need new ingredients all the time, I got to try anything I possibly can? Or, how did you come to the quince?
So genuinely, the poem that you started with, I had an illustrated book of it when I was a kid.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
And so I think I just knew about it. And obviously, as a kid, when you're reading something fantastical, you think, oh, that must be so cool.
Yeah.
Kind of gets implanted in your brain.
Yeah. It's also a cool word, right? That word quince somehow feels magical. Maybe it is because you encountered it as a kid in a poem like that, and that's why you think it feels magical. But I think just on the face, that the sound, quince.
Ooh.
It just, it's like, oh, okay, that sounds
real world. You think, okay, I got to try that. And I love the transformative aspect of it. It's so, like I said, in the winter, it's amazing to have, and then just something that transforms so beautifully. I just find it sort of poetically beautiful.
We've got a comment on YouTube that somebody says it took 5 years to grow her quince plant. So I guess somebody's could you grow quince around here?
Yeah, so they actually do. I'm not a farmer, but my understanding is they do really well in zone 5 and 6, which is where we are, kind of some of the northernmost climates that we have. And they're relatively resilient. And like I said, there are a couple of people in Vermont who grow them. So they're a cold hardy tree, is my understanding.
Yeah. But those trees, I think it does take years for them to actually develop fruit. So that makes sense. And there are also ornamental varieties of quince, like trees and bushes, that their flowers produce some of that kind of nice floral aroma too. So.
And of course, there are those who say if you buy the fact that there was once a garden of there was once a Garden of Eden and there was a tree that had fruit on it in that garden, in theory, it would definitely not have been an apple, but probably a quince or possibly a quince on that tree.
Totally love that.
Because it's native to that part of the world.
Exactly.
So that's kind of interesting too. All right. Well, thank you both. We've been speaking with James Beard, award-winning chef and co-founder of Maymay Dumplings, Irene Li, and Kelcey Rush, co-chef at Spoke Wine Bar, about the quince. Thank you both for being with us on the Curiosity Desk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And now we turn our attention to the Boston Public Library, where Jared Bowen is waiting, about to launch the Culture Show and their week in review. How are things down at the library, Jared?
Well, we're holding, Edgar, so we have lots to talk about this week. You saw overnight, of course, there was the news about the Bachelorette and ABC's decision to pull the show after the entire thing has been taped. So we'll talk about that controversy and the thinking behind that. Meanwhile, something that is returning, two big things that are returning. BTS, of course, had their big album drop. Big
huge
international day for K-pop. And Jay-Z is back for the first time on stage solo. We'll talk about that. And then also back is Val Kilmer, who will be in a new movie. The late Val Kilmer, that is.
Oh, wow.
But of course, AI makes many things possible. This is a film he wanted to do, wasn't able to, but his family has allowed for it to move forward. So we'll talk about all of that and more.
Fascinating stuff. That is Jared Bowen and the Culture Show, their week in review, coming at you in just about 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere. As for us, that does it for us this week. The Curiosity Desk is produced by Aidan Connolly, Rachel Armani, Olivia Corcio, Hannah Lawson, Nicole Garcia. Patty Daniels is the liquid that fuels our rocket. Our live stream director today is Bradley Lewis. Our engineer, the one and only John the Claw Parker. Special thanks today as well to Andrew Massawa for his audio engineering prowess. As promised, we'll be back here on Monday, here on GBH 89.7 and streaming on YouTube. Until then, I am Edgar B. Herwick III. Stay curious out there.
What's trending? What's interesting? What's going on around town? We're talking all things arts and culture on The Culture Show, next on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And GM Roth Design Remodeling, providing custom kitchens, bathrooms, and accessory dwelling units. Their design team works to create living-in-place solutions tailored to the needs of each home and family. More information at gmroth.com.
Brackets, fierce competitors, buzzer beaters. That's right. I'm talking about High School Quiz Show. Play along at home and don't miss an all-new episode tomorrow at 6 on GBH2.
You're listening to 89.7 WGBH HD1 Boston. Online at gbhnews.org. GBH News. What matters to you?
Good afternoon. With the latest from the GBH Culture Show News Desk, I'm Henry Santoro. We begin with the death of Chuck Norris, the martial arts grandmaster and action star whose roles in Walker, Texas Ranger and other television shows and movies made him an iconic Hollywood tough guy. But before he became a star on the big screen and small, Norris was wildly successful in competitive martial arts. Norris died in Hawaii on Thursday at what his family calls a sudden passing. He was 86. He will be missed. And now it's New Old Music Friday, with the day belonging to Boston's bad boys of rock and roll, Aerosmith, or Aerosmith, as the local townies like to call them. Earlier this week, the band released a reissue and remixed version of their debut album, Aerosmith, calling it the Legendary Edition. And it's spectacular.
It ain't easy living like a gypsy town, honey, how
the original LP was recorded in Boston, 1972, released on January 5th, 1973. The album features the classic ballad Dream On and staples like this gem, Mama Kin.
Never knowing where you've been.
But what sets this version of Mama Kin apart from the original album version is this one is a live version recorded at the legendary Boston music club Paul's Mall, a tiny basement club next to the Jazz Workshop on Boylston Street, right near the Boston Public Library. The performance captures the band's over-the-top frenetic energy in front of a hometown crowd in support of their debut album, and it clearly shows why they are, to this day, one of the best rock bands on the planet.
So hard to find peace of mind, yes it is. The way I see it, you got to say she, but don't forget to drop me a line.
The album finds the band at their rawest, packing a 1-2 punch of lean and mean, distorted riffing, bluesy grooves, and Steven Tyler's pitch-perfect vocals, alongside the screaming guitar riffs of Joe Perry. That's this edition of the GBH News Weekly Friday Afternoon Culture Cast. I'm Henry Santoro. Next up, The Culture Show with my friend and yours, Jared Bowen, live at the Boston Public Library.
I'm Jared Bowen. Coming up on The Culture Show, the group that helped take K-pop from Seoul to sold-out stadiums worldwide is back. BTS returns with a new album, ending a years-long hiatus with a comeback powered by one of the most devoted fan bases in music. Speaking of comeback, Jay-Z is in an empire state of mind, heading home to the Bronx this summer for 2 Yankee Stadium shows celebrating Reasonable Doubt and The Blueprint, the records that made him a mogul, mythmaker, and master of the game. Then, after a controversial run as interim president of the Kennedy Center, Richard Grinnell is out, following backlash from artists, internal upheaval, and a wave of cancellations. And Kevin Hart waxes profane at the sight of what is intended to be a wax statue of him. A likeness so off it feels less like a tribute and more like a takedown. We take on that and more right now on our Arts and Culture Week in Review.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Welcome to The Culture Show on 89.7 GBH and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm Jared Bowen.
I'm Callie Crossley.
And I'm Cristina Quinn.
We're going over the week's top arts and culture headlines, starting with The Bachelorette. What was supposed to be a rose-filled reset for the ABC franchise has become very thorny. Just days before The Bachelorette was set to premiere, ABC yanked the already taped season featuring Taylor Frankie Paul, a regular on the reality show The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It all stems from a leaked video showing Paul assaulting her partner, which ultimately derailed the comeback before it could begin. So this is in the category of what were they thinking, but I think we know what they were thinking. That's my thought about this whole thing. So here ABC has had kind of a struggle with the Bachelorette franchise. The last one was on last year it was on hiatus. Before that it ended in a failed engagement, so they needed to come back in a big way. So they cast this person, Taylor Frankie Paul, who by all accounts is pretty toxic. At least that's how she's been on TikTok, and this is how she's been in The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And she was convicted in 2023 after she pled guilty to this aggravated assault charge. She was put on 3 years probation. So ABC, Disney, they knew absolutely that they had cast somebody who is incredibly problematic, and then they find themselves in this situation, leaked 3 days before. This was all set up basically to take The Bachelorette down, and Disney, ABC, walked right into it.
So what happened was this release of this video, which is pretty brutal when you take a look at it. I love this response from a commenter. If only anyone could have predicted this train wreck months ago, because they put the show on pause. I mean, you know, they knew who this woman was the whole time. But I think what really pushed them to do this, because since they knew they were prepared to go forward, and she was sort of covering for it in her conversations leading up to it, was Cinnabon. Cinnabon said, "We're out." That was one of the first big sponsors. And so you had to know that there was going to be a domino effect from that. And if you start losing sponsorships on these shows, you don't got anything.
Right. What was also interesting is that she had talked about that night in 2023 on the reality series where she stars, the
Secret Lives of
Mormon Wives. And so it wasn't... it was public information. However, I think the way she had portrayed it was that it wasn't in full disclosure. Like, there wasn't a full disclosure. Now that we've seen the video, which is really hard to watch, it's really difficult to watch, we now have a sense of, okay, this to your point, Jared, this is a very toxic person. Yeah.
Well, and to hear some of that, here's a moment from Secret Lives of Mormon Wives in which Taylor Frankie Paul, the one-time Bachelorette now, confronts Dakota Mortensen. He is the person who she is seen assaulting in this video released by TMZ. She confronts Dakota Mortensen about alleged infidelity at a family barbecue.
I hear he slept with another girl. He admitted it. I was so sad that I needed space. He went and hooked up with Jenna that very night. I found out and was bawling my eyes out.
During the time when I slept with the girl, I hung with Taylor 3 times or 2 times.
2 nights after that, and he goes, and Taylor, you're pretty much the only girl I'm seeing. I'm trashed him. You come over the next night, me, and then you go and you hang out with another girl, and then he comes the next night and me again.
Okay.
I wasn't lying to you about someone else.
No, to be honest, I've never seen The Bachelor, The Bachelorette. I remember we talked about The Golden Bachelor on the show, so I watched a couple of episodes of that. I thought this was supposed to be a bit more of a wholesome, character-driven show. So clearly ABC and Disney, I keep saying Disney because, of course, they own ABC. They have gone in a different direction with this. So again, they knew exactly who they were hiring there, as they have in the past. Remember when they put Anna Delvey on Dancing with the Stars?
Oh, that's right.
They put Paula Deen on Dancing with the Stars a couple of years after she was canceled. Carol Baskin, the one who may or may not have killed her husband and fed him to the tigers. They have a track record for this. Clearly, they were trying to dig themselves out of a hole, and this is what they've done, and this is what they've done to themselves to the expense of tens of millions of dollars. That's what they're going to lose if they don't air this at all. Again, they have taped this entire show. They were promoting it. It got lots of promotion on right after the Oscars. There is some speculation that they'll release this on Hulu, also owned by Disney, at some point down the road. But this is what they designed for themselves because this is what they decided America wants to see.
Well, they must have known that this was going to be, that this was the risk. Because they already knew, I mean, the police report was there. They already knew this happened. This had been documented. So at what point, I'm really curious as to what the thinking was because we knew, they knew. Now, let me provide this caveat. I had never heard of this person's name until this news broke yesterday. I'd never heard of Taylor Frankie Paul. I had never watched I hadn't watched The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. I knew about it. And I was just kind of like, oh, okay. But then the fact that it was 3 days before the show, it was set to premiere, and she is the star. The timing is...
Well, my other favorite part of this is she's not even allowed to leave the country because of her probation, which apparently has a negative impact on the show because apparently there isn't a lot of international travel on the show. So they were constricted.
Yeah. Well, they were constricted because they had put a pause on the season 4 of The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This is well before we're going into this new show. And so I think their risk was, hey, everybody already knows about this, and so there's no big deal. So she's discussed it. When she talked about it leading up to this show, she said, I'm always one to tell my truth, and so I'm happy to talk about my truth as it concerns this thing, but nobody had seen that video, so I think that's part of it. I just want to make a point and say, yes, you can pick so many other people who are out here in the reality TV world to do this. And in the past, what they would do for Bachelorette is take those young women who were a part of the to be on it. So this was a departure in that way. But you got 1 billion people to pick from.
Well,
so they wanted her.
I would like to see a normie cast as the Bachelorette. I mean, the whole...
you don't, but see, that's the problem.
But I think
you don't want a normie at the end of the day.
I want a normie
being a
with
normal
pizzazz.
person, like an average viewer instead of a quasi-celebrity.
Well, those people who were leftovers from The Bachelor were not people anybody knew, but they became people on the show, so people knew them and whatever. I just want to make this point. There are a lot of guys who signed up for this, and they usually have to quit their jobs. So they're out too, in terms of, I assume somebody pays them out, but who knows?
Well, I'm sure they still get. I'm sure they were paid for their time, but they're not going to get the 20 seconds of stardom that they thought they were going to get by signing up for the show. And for those who haven't seen the video, we should explain what this video shows is this individual, Paul, having a fight with her boyfriend, and she starts hurling chairs, and then one of them, it seems, it's a little difficult to see on the video, strikes one of her children. The police report afterward suggested that the child had, a very young child, had a
5 years old
egg-sized bump on their forehead, and so this is why this becomes really problematic, because Callie, as you started talking about, imagine if they could only have known. Well, this is what we're talking about when you decide to exclude scrutiny or ignore scrutiny. It's either best or worst case in this example. Now we're talking about children, and this is what you trot out. And again, I'll say it one more time, Disney, of all things, the family company, is the one who's found themselves in this mess.
By the way, that boyfriend is the father of her other child. So he's a little bit more than a boyfriend.
His name is Dakota Mortensen.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And he's, I mean, that's the thing. It's just like, okay. But another thing that bothered me while I was watching this video was his narration of what was happening. Now, my sense was, okay, he's taking this video. He wants to have proof of what happened. There's a point where he should have put the phone down, and that was when it was evident that his kid was hit. And then he was saying, oh, you hit our child. But he kept... The tape kept rolling. The phone, he still had the camera on. And I remember, what are you doing? And so that really struck a nerve with me. And again, I'm not familiar with these characters, but I'm familiar enough with sort of the toxic culture that these types of shows thrive on. And so I just think it's worth noting that I neither of these players are people that I'm invested in.
No, and the poor children just put in the situation, not investing in it themselves. Well, unlike the Bachelorette, BTS is pulling off a comeback. The K-pop phenomenon has reunited now that all band members have completed their compulsory military service. They dropped their first new album in years today called Ari Wrong. It already racked up more than 4 million pre-orders alone in its first week. Let's take a quick listen to their first single, Swim.
Swim, this is how it all begins. Swim, I just wanna dive, my world, run away, I still wake up in this map world, name a place that I can breathe on this map world, looking like a goody.
So I did a lot of my prep at 7:30 this morning listening to this album. It is really, really good, and the reviews have been really good. It's called Layered, that they rekindle their fire, a mature body of work, a carefully sequenced story when you consider the album as a whole. They could have basically done anything, I think we realize at this point, because they have already sold out their entire world tour. 82 dates, 23 countries that they're visiting, all the way into 2027. People did not forget about them when they disappeared because, of course, as we mentioned, compulsory military service in South Korea. And here they come back in this big, artful, I would argue, way.
Well, I agree with all of that. I think we should say that this Swim, or the album rather, the name is tied to a national anthem, a Korean national anthem that symbolizes Korean culture, identity, and resilience. And there are 3,600 versions of this song across regional and modern versions. And so now it's 3,601 because they've just done it. So that's a lot of connection to certainly their Korean audience and other people who follow this very, very closely. So that's a big win for them. I watched the Swim video, and though it's very beautiful and everything, I didn't see enough of them. So I want to see them, and I want to see them dancing particularly. And it's very soulful. It's very pretty. I just want to see more of them in the video. So that's only my, I guess if that's my only complaint, shut up.
I mean, I got to say, I love also the idea of a global audience now being familiar with a Korean anthem. This is all part of the Korean takeover, which I am fully embracing because I love it. You guys know I'm a fan of the K-pop Demon Hunters, and that phenomenon continues to reign in our home. So, yeah, I'm game. They already sold, they're going to be in Foxborough at Gillette Stadium this August.
5th and 6th. Not that it matters because all the seats are gone.
Good luck to you.
Don't do anything. I think it's fascinating that, if people know anything about the K-pop phenomenon, they know that, these guys are obviously the embodiment of that. But the kind of discipline, the kind of choreography, the kind of work that you have to do to get to the precision that they have is really amazing. My nephew is a professional dancer, and he said, whoa, their rehearsals are nothing, they're beyond. And so after they all finished their service, they relocated to a house in LA and spent 2 months getting back to that kind of really strict discipline. He said, we're business people, we're professionals. We cannot just go out here to a sold out crowd and, not
be prepared.
Yeah.
Right. Also, it's interesting then that they came out of their military training with, I'm guessing with that discipline further reinforced. And so maybe applying that to their art is more
I think that's exactly true. Let's play one more little bit from This Is Body to Body. This is the first track of the new album, Ari Rong, and the album's name, as we've talked about, pays tribute to this traditional Korean folk song, which was the first song recorded by Korean men with American ethnologist Alice Fletcher in the U.S. in 1896. Of that transition there, old to new, and they didn't all serve their time at their military service at the same time. So presumably they came out, and yes, although they did, because it's such a short time if you think about it, 2.5 months to create an album, clearly they were thinking about this for a long time. They came out at different intervals. I would guess that this album, because of how richly layered it is, because of the span of music that you hear all across the album, it's traditional K-pop as you might define tradition, it's what we just heard, it's hip-hop, and we knew coming out of this that each of the band members also had signaled that they would be bringing their own musical interests and their own histories to this album, and I think that all comes to the fore. So now the big question will be, do they stay together, or do they start to spin off into their individual careers, which they've also suggested. But this is such a big moment, and I think we like to talk about this every now and again on the Culture Show. The world is so tough right now, all over the place. And Cristina, you mentioned this is the whole world coming together and listening to this for not the entire world, but a lot of the world right now woke up this morning and was listening to this.
Yeah, I mean, and you're going to hear it. You know what I mean? That it's going to be in the airwaves, and then people. I mean, you can't help but bop to that. Come on,
yes,
you know,
absolutely. They did do solo work because each of them came out at different times, as you said. So they're bringing that, as you said, back to the group. I mean, you know, they're the best. And by the way, because K-pop is so expansive in terms of the groups and other groups that we know who are good, they really have to stay at the top of their game for people not to go and go, oh, I've seen that. So you know what I mean?
That's a good point.
They got to bring it up.
Yeah, and defend the gates as the guys who are out in front of this.
Yes.
Well, another big return to talk about, Brooklyn's Finest is also having a comeback. After years of shaping pop culture from behind the scenes, Jay-Z is returning to the stage solo for 2 Yankee Stadium shows built around Reasonable Doubt and The Blueprint, the albums that announced his rise and helped redefine the sound and stature of hip-hop. Yes, he certainly didn't go away. There's no big comeback for Jay-Z, but for the fact that we will be seeing him on stage for the first time in a very long time by himself, and then hearkening back to this history, which, like BTS, changed so much of music history.
Yeah, I mean, 2 albums, one the 30th anniversary, and the second the 25th anniversary. That's Blueprint is 25th. On the other one, 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt. And I just am shocked when I think about how long it's been that he's been on the stage doing this. And by the way, he's the force behind Live Nation that programs the stuff for the Super Bowl. So I think the last time we may have seen him on stage was when he programmed all the hip hop 50th anniversary. And that's been about it. But when you think about looking back on some of the songs that became classics in his genre, is really interesting. I just want to note that one of the songs is called Can I Live? And the lyrics go, we invite you to something epic, y'all know, where we hustle out of a sense of hopelessness, sort of a desperation. Through that desperation, we become addicted, sort of like the friends we've accustomed to serving, the fiends we are accustomed to serving, but we feel we have nothing to lose. I mean, the guy was writing this kind of stuff first, early albums.
And it's timeless.
Yeah.
It's timeless stuff. I mean, the album's still amazing. Like, it's still that, and yeah, I mean, then Blueprint, I mean, I'm excited, but yeah, I'm a little also shocked at the fact that it's 30 years old, because that also means that, the fact that I remember that means that I'm aging. So
that is true. Just a note that the Brooklyn Museum was it last year or the year before, did an amazing exhibit of all of Jay-Z's work and intellectual property, and it was fantastic. So just want to say.
And I just want to make one note. It's Rock Nation, not Live Nation, because he has his own artistic monopoly of sorts, you could argue. But
that's right. Thank you.
To just go back to Reasonable Doubt, we can spend a minute on the other side just talking about why this is so significant, as so many institutions have recognized. But here's Jay-Z's classic track, Can't Knock the Hustle, featuring Mary J. Blige from his 1996 album, Reasonable Doubt.
My cup runneth over with hundreds. I'm one of the best that have done it. 6 digits and running, y'all, and I don't want it. I got the Godfather flow, the Don Juan, the Marco. Swear to God, don't get it fucked up.
Taking up this time to give you peace of my mind.
Cause you can't knock the hustle.
This This is an album that's now in the Grammy Hall of Fame. This is an album that he tried to get out into the world. The labels weren't having it. It didn't stop him. He just kept moving forward, selling this album out of the back of his car, literally, until people finally woke up to what he was doing. I just love these stories about artists who you can clearly tell were born to be artists because they never gave up. They knew what they had. They didn't let anybody tell them. People did tell them that they were terrible, but they didn't let them tell them that, and just moved forward. And of course, now he is one of the kings of the music world.
Well, I also highly recommend his memoir. We read it for book club, and he had some hard lives on the street. He had to make a decision: do I want to go down this path, or do I want to go music? And he was making a lot of money on the street. So it's really a fantastic. We were a little skeptical when we started reading it, but it's quite good.
Not to mention he's married to Beyonce. I mean, guys,
well, there
come
is
on.
true.
Like he's come out on top in so many ways.
Well,
I mean,
what do you say? I brag different. My wife Beyonce.
All right, well, coming up, he's one of the highest of the high-end luxury fashion designers, but now John Galliano is collaborating with Zara. His transition from haute couture to hoi polloi is next on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
When Andre Riccardi was diagnosed with terminal cancer, he thought it was a cruel joke, but still a funny one.
He lived his life using humor to get through all the hard times and the good times. It was just part of his core.
I'm Arun Roth. Today on GBH's All Things Considered, this week's Joy Beat, how the film Andre is an Idiot finds joy where you would least expect it. That and all the day's news starting at 4 on GBH 89.7.
Funding for our programs comes from you.
And the DeMoore McKim School of Business at Northeastern University, where graduate students can build vital business skills through experience. Business Bootcamp Series, April 13th through 17th. northeastern.edu/business bootcamp. And Windhorse Counseling, where they believe healing happens when it feels human. Their counselors support children and adults through a collaborative approach and through the employment of therapy dogs. More about their team at windhorsecounseling.net. Reach your customers wherever they are with GBH. Your brand will stand alongside trusted, mission-driven content across every platform. Explore the impact of corporate sponsorship at gbh.org/sponsorship.
Whether you prefer to read, listen, or watch, however you get your news, the GBH News app is your home for coverage of the issues that matter most. Download the GBH News app today on the App Store or Google Play.
Welcome back to The Culture Show. I'm Jared Bowen, live from the GBH studio at the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by Culture Show co-host Callie Crossley and journalist and GBH News alum Cristina Quinn. If you're just tuning in, it's our Arts and Culture Week in Review, and that includes John Galliano. The fashion designer ranks among the most legendary of the modern era, with tenures at Givenchy, Dior, and Maison Margiela. His next fashion house, Zara. He signed a 2-year contract to re-author, quote-unquote, the brand's archives. This is really, really fascinating, and it continues to be fascinating because we don't know why he's doing this. This was just announced, but
it came out of nowhere.
This is a man, we are acknowledging he had a really bad streak where he made anti-Semitic comments, but he went through rehab and he went on an apology tour, and then he slowly moved his way back into the fashion world. And in the last few years, he has just been so acclaimed over and over again for his fashion design. The last fashion show he had with Maison Margiela, they talked about his being history. It was genius. It was sublime in his runway show, and nobody knew what he was going to do next, where he was going to go next, and nobody anticipated it would be Zara, this fast fashion, very inexpensive clothing store, not house, but
I'm very
store.
excited about this, for one, just because it means that for once he will be affordable, somebody that maybe I can actually afford. That said, I mean, Zara, I wouldn't put it in the same category as the same fast fashion category as like there's Shein and all the other. Yes, absolutely. I mean, Zara actually can be pretty cost prohibitive at times. You have to shop the sales, but people who shop at Zara, they do care about fashion. They do. You can get off. You go there, you're looking for something that it's like that like has whiffs of Chanel and Hermes, right? If you're like looking for something certain. So the fact that he's catering to that is really, really exciting. I'm really excited. Okay, but I'm curious to know if who else is going to be shopping for this and how much more of the price markup it'll be.
Well, the average clothing item at Zara is $30 to $130, but limited items go up to $200 and a little bit more. So we assume he's in that category. And it follows a pattern of other high-end designers also having a lower market. I know there's a name for it, but I'm thinking about Christian Siriano. He has something by Christian that's, much lower priced. And then there's a few other ones that I can name, but I particularly like Christian Siriano, so I'm always paying attention to what he's doing. So this is not unusual. It probably is more unusual because Christian Siriano is from a younger class of designers that are well known and luxury designers, and Galliano has that long history. So I think it offers somebody like him an opportunity to do all kind of wild stuff because he doesn't have to. If there was ever a formula for him within the bounds of luxury for those people who could afford that, he can break that.
I think you're absolutely right. I think it's the point at which he is living now. I think it's the discussions the world is having about luxury and what that really means in this moment and the high price points, not to mention the expense in terms of being cognizant of climate and carbon footprint, what this all means. This is why I think it's very significant that they led with he is basically redesigning from the brand's own archives. So this is something going in and reimagining and yes, making it accessible to many people. We don't necessarily know that he's going to be in the $200 range. He could be in the $30 range. This could be his whole design, to get that kind of access and democracy in fashion. My big question is, I think most of what he has done has been for women. So I wonder if they're going to be boy clothes when he goes to Zara. That's what I'm concerned about. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. But
there's no reason for him not.
It's the total opposite of his last dress. One of his most recent auction dresses was for Dior, a piece he designed for Dior that went for $734,000. So that's what you're talking about, Christina, when you say it's not necessarily affordable to you.
Yeah, it just doesn't really, not right now, know?
Yeah. No, it usually means that you have to use different kinds of materials. That's the difference. And there is a line between, I don't know if you agree with me, Christina, between affordable nice and affordable tacky in terms of materials. So that's the key to me. I would like to see someone like him, and for that matter any other designer who's accustomed to using those really fine materials, bring it down to a price point but not to the tacky one.
Well, he's going to be, this is what I think is really exciting, that he's just deconstructing garments from Zara's past seasons. And so there is a greater push for sustainability in the fashion world. And the fact that he's embracing that, I think, is also really appealing, especially to young people, because thrifting is really, that's just sort of the common thing to do now for younger generations when it comes to shopping. So I think this will appeal to them. It will also keep him relevant. And I will be sure to keep my eye out for the release.
Well, the other thing to be mindful of here is, yes, certainly the quality of textiles matters a lot, but there's a lot of really expensive clothing that is really, really hideous.
Well, that's
so
true.
Yes.
That's
inexpensive
true.
clothing can be beautiful and gorgeous and fashion forward, literally, with the right cut, the right tailoring, the right expression. So it's not all about, in fact, so much of stuff is not about money. Yes, if you want. I think he's going to teach very valuable lessons in here, in this case, and this all starts in September. So Christina will not be on the show in September because she'll be around the corner on Newbury Street at the Zara there trying to load up. Well, next, the late Val Kilmer is starring in a new film by way of artificial intelligence. In As Deep as the Grave, the actor who died last year before filming the role is being digitally recreated with the support of his estate and family for a posthumous screen performance. So this is the latest continuation of the ongoing conversation we have about AI and what it means for art in particular. We know so much of what it means for films. But the story behind this is this is a project that he had been looking at. It's a character that really mattered to him. It's a Catholic priest, and according to his family anyway, it resonated deeply with him as a very spiritual person. He died before he was able to do any of the filming. They decided to continue making the film, and they have the permission of the family, of the estate. They have scavenged all the recordings, all the video, all the film that exists that they had access to of Val Kilmer, and they're creating this performance.
Yeah, when I first heard the story, before I knew any of the details, I thought, okay, family money grab. I'm sorry, that's exactly where I went. Because I thought, really? So I still am on the fence about it, because we've discussed on this show there's a number of actors who have sort of willingly, they're perfectly healthy, given over their consent to allow this AI replication of them. And, that it puts pressure on the body of professionals who are out here, who are human, trying to get work. And that still remains a big issue for the actors groups, as it should. So, I mean, the family said yes because he wanted to do it. There was some of that enhancement in the last film that he did with
Tom Cruise,
Top Gun Maverick, and that was done beautifully. He was only on screen for a while, and it was quite touching. So I'm still on the fence about it.
Before we get to you, Cristina, since Callie just brought it up, let's hear a little bit of the AI in play. This is Val Kilmer in 2022's Top Gun sequel Maverick, in which his voice was enhanced and recreated using AI technology because of his throat cancer treatments, which significantly had an impact on his ability to speak.
The Navy needs Maverick. The kid needs Maverick. That's why I fought for you. That's why you're still here. One last thing. Who's the better pilot? You or me?
This is a nice moment. Let's not ruin it.
This was probably the most extraordinary scene in the film, aside all the action moments. But this was when Val Kilmer was still alive, and we recognized there was so much. They didn't disclaim it in the film, of course, but we knew in the talk or the conversation around it. But this is different because he's gone now.
Well, I will have to admit, I mean, I am so curious about how they'll pull it off, and I think that's going to drive people to see it, because they'll be like, okay, I think I'm going to tune in and I'm going to look for every potential imperfection. I'll be like, well, that's clearly AI. I mean, obviously most of it's AI. It's AI, but I'll be looking for where it's not believable. And I think a lot of people will do the same, just because it's a morbid curiosity too. It's also worth mentioning that this has sort of happened before in a movie called Transcendence, starring Johnny Depp, in which he played a researcher who in many ways uploaded his consciousness to an AI supercomputer. And so, I don't know, it's just like we're seeing these things happen in real time, in real life.
It also happened with Carrie Fisher in the Star Wars film after she was gone. It also happened with Peter Cushing in the Star Wars films, of course, the commander of the Death Star, after he was gone. In both of those cases, they went back to the family. The family also consented to this. If I remember correctly, Carrie Fisher had shot some scenes. So there were some things that she'd shot, and they married it to other tracks that she had recorded, maybe from the other films, not used, maybe used. So that was an amalgamation. But this is one of the first times that we're seeing a wholesale representation of somebody, and I can only think that this is going to go on and on and on. I had the same thought you did, Callie. This is, as Joan Collins once, or somebody said, I think it was what Joan Collins, just filling up the bucket in terms of taking on projects. And it just, I don't know. And I think back to a couple of years ago, I saw this touring concert where Maria Callas appeared before me as a hologram. This was out in Worcester with Worcester Music. I believe it was at the Hanover Theater. And I found it really compelling. And as somebody who didn't grow up in Maria Callas's lifetime, it was kind of great for me to be able to experience her as she was represented in this form and have that kind of access to her, just like maybe generations from now, people will be really excited to see a new Brad Pitt movie after he is gone. I don't
know. I mean, it just also means like, there's the potential for like you're never going to die. You know what I mean? I mean, everything should have an end. But everything does have an end, right? Everything does have an ending. And so the idea of having this AI generated version of yourself, living out in the world forever and ever, potentially, it it wigs me out. I like watching. This is why we have like Turner Classics, right? We can go back and watch classics because these people aren't around where we can enjoy the cinematic experience from that time. But imagine seeing actors who've been dead for decades continue to act in films is really irksome.
Well, a couple of things. When the Carrie Fisher stuff was happening in Star Wars, there was a certain kind of technology. We're way past that now. So what concerns me is that it's not just you can give approval, but you can manipulate all of this stuff so that they're now saying and doing things they never would have agreed to. And there's a huge potential for that. So that's what makes me very nervous about it. I will say one thing that I think they're doing correctly in this process. They're using his voice after the tracheotomy, not before. So if they'd used it before, that's a real reimagining.
Stretch.
Yeah, stretch. You know what I mean? So I thought, it'll be interesting to see how they do that, because that's a different quality of his voice and all of that.
Well, the other big factor we should mention here is something we've already talked about on the show, and that's the number of actors, including Judi Dench.
Yes.
She was the one I was most surprised about, who have already signed on to licensing agreements because they recognize if I don't do this, they're basically going to take it anyway.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we're already in the position of, here's Val Kilmer's family signing off, but we're very quickly going to find ourselves in a situation where a whole array, because there are a vast number of celebrities who have already licensed their image and their voices. So it's another reason I think that this is going to become the norm. And then it does provide a revenue stream for estates and for families who come after them.
I don't know. Matthew McConaughey is one of the leaders of that group of actors, offering their own voices.
Oh, interesting. I can see why you would do it to protect yourself legally. I mean, we're seeing people's voices being synthesized and used in ways that are, where the people, they didn't get their permission. And so I can see why you would do that to protect yourself. But I think to use it so you could potentially act forever and ever after you've died that's a whole new level of ego.
Yes.
Well, we are talking about Hollywood. Coming up after backlash, cancellations, and a very public art world revolt, Richard Grenell has been ousted from the Kennedy Center. We dig into that and more in Washington on The Culture Show. Stay with us.
Day of spring or Nowruz.
What do you like about Nowruz? It has sentimental value to me, and it's been in our family for as long as I remember.
Hear one family's annual tradition for celebrating with friends from across the globe. Next time on The World.
This afternoon at 3, here on GBH News 89.7.
Our programs are made possible thanks to you.
And Boston Ballet, presenting The Dream, a program pairing Frederick Ashton's Shakespeare-inspired ballet and a dynamic world premiere by emerging choreographer Michael Stromae. On stage now through March 29th. Tickets at bostonballet.org.
And Good Now Farms Chocolate, crafting single-origin chocolate made from directly sourced South American fine flavor cacao beans. Learn more about their crafting approach at goodnowfarms.com.
And The Delaney at the Vale, a luxury senior living rental community for adults 62 plus, where residents choose how to spend their time with amenities and programming designed to offer opportunities for connection and learning. DelaneyAtTheVale.com.
I'm Callie Crossley. All too often, a lot of very important news flies under the radar. Learn about the small stories before they become big headlines on my podcast, Under the Radar with Callie Crossley, available wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Jared Bowen. If you're just tuning in, this is The Culture Show, live from the Boston Public Library and streaming on the GBH News YouTube channel. I'm joined by co-host Callie Crossley and journalist and WGBH alum Cristina Quinn. We're going over the latest headlines in our Arts and Culture Week in Review, which includes a whole host of updates and developments involving President Trump, starting with our 2 cents on the president who is pushing to have his likeness placed on a gold coin, a move that would break with long-standing tradition, possibly even law. So this was the Commission of Fine Arts that approved this, where if you're streaming on our GBH News YouTube channel, you'll see an image of the gold coin here. This is the same image of the president that you'll currently find in the Smithsonian Institution in the National Portrait Gallery, with his hands on the resolute desk and leaning forward in a pretty stern look. This is shocking to many people because this has really only been done once before. That was with Calvin Coolidge, who appeared prior on a coin. It was scandalous in his time. Many of those coins were ultimately melted down. But this is what the president was able to do by appointing his own members to the Commission of Fine Arts.
Well, at least one of the two panels that were supposed to approve this, the second panel is a bipartisan Citizens Coinage Advisory Committee, refused to consider it. So this is a one-panel approval, so to speak. I'm sorry, anybody looking at that coin, it looks like a dictator. That's it. I mean, that's what dictators do. They put themselves on coins and pass it around.
Yeah. And it's also, I mean, his executive assistant had told the Washington Post that they wanted to capture Trump looking tough and strong, and that it would be, quote, fitting to have him on a coin to mark the nation's 250th anniversary. Which I'm like, how is that fitting? How is that fitting?
And how is it fitting since Washington, at the time of his leadership, they was suggested that they put his face on a coin, and he said no.
Right. Right.
That's a founder, people, all of you who are concerned about the Constitution. He said no. So here we are.
And federal law says that no living president can appear on U.S. currency. However, the Treasury Secretary can overrule, which is how we're finding ourselves in this situation. They also decided that because he likes things big, they're giving him the biggest coin, 2 inches. So is it lights, camera, infraction? Lawmakers are probing whether Amazon's $75 million Melania Trump documentary deal amounts to bribery. As I said, this is our update section because we spent a fair amount of time talking about this on The Culture Show. It was big news when Amazon quote-unquote, won this bidding war that ultimately put $40 million into the Trump family or directly into Melania Trump's pockets to produce this documentary. The second runner-up was Disney, who was bidding $26 million less. So now a group of legislators led by Senator Elizabeth Warren right here in Massachusetts wants an investigation into these practices and whether they violate federal anti-bribery laws by paying for a above-market sum for this film.
With the goal, if people don't put the connections together of if you do a big documentary and spend then $35 million more than the $40 million you spent to acquire it, to promote it, that of course would be very pleasing to the current occupant of the White House, and that's where the bribery comes in, big time.
Not to mention that the owner of the studios is Jeff Bezos, who has contracts with the federal government for Blue Origins.
And wants more.
And so Senator Elizabeth Warren is looking to see, how does this contradict? I don't blame her. I mean, the pay-to-play, the investigations into pay-to-play, and just, of course, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to look into this because everything is just a little too on the nose.
Well, when you're auditing the books, this hits close to home to our beloved Cristina Quinn.
Yes.
This is happening, paying $40 million for the Melania documentary at the same time that the Washington Post, of which you most recently worked, saw massive layoffs with claims that this Jeff Bezos-owned publication couldn't afford to keep the journalists on staff.
Indeed, I was one of 357 staffers who was laid off at the Washington Post. And so whenever, we would see news about, when we first saw the news about the $40 million, followed by the $35 million to promote it, it was just, it's just another kick in the shin, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
Well, we continue on to our Washington updates with this update on Strictly Ballroom. A federal judge has brought to a halt the president's proposed East Wing makeover, citing breaches of permitting, preservation, and whether the changes comply with existing agreements. So as we know, the president has had every intention of building this ballroom starting in April. There is a law firm, Holy Folk, which actually is represented right here in Boston, which is representing the National Trust for Historic Preservation. They have sued to stop this a couple of times. The judge allowed the lawsuit to proceed. However, he basically gave those lawyers the blueprint for how to fight this by telling them what they needed to come back into court with. And now he has said that he is stalling this and will decide by the end of March whether it can proceed. But if you hear his comments in this case, it sounds like the government in this instance doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Yeah, one of the reasons is that they've offered up various bodies, federal bodies that are supposed to be in control of the project, he asked the judge a simple question: who's in control of this? And it matters because there are different rules governing how certain bodies would oversee federal projects and federal monies. And he's gotten 15 different responses. And so the last one was, well, it was the National Park Service, to which he said, this isn't any national park. This is an iconic symbol of this nation. What are you talking about? Right. So he's not pleased by that. And I think it's also interesting, given the tone and tenor of what we've been talking about with these happenings, that he also knows that once he issues his ruling at the end of March, he expects to be appealed, and he expects this will end up at the Supreme Court. And if anybody's been watching, the approvals by the court of Trump's various projects, it'll probably get passed.
Right. And this also is just, I mean, President Trump does this. He goes ahead with a project knowing well that there are, there's protocols that you're supposed to adhere to, and then just let's go ahead with the demolition and then backpedal and see. But the damage has been done. I mean, the East Wing has been destroyed. It's destroyed. Yes. And now there's just this, this gaping cavity. And so I just say this doesn't go through, then what? I'm curious to know what would happen after that.
Well, the process, as it should be, will be, and I look forward to this actually. It's horrible that this historic structure was destroyed, but if it goes the way it should, then a group will come together, which usually is a years-long process, and there will be a collective decision-making, a collective agreement on how the White House should be represented. Again, as I always say when we talk about this is our house. It's not his house. He's the current steward. It is our house. So the nation as a whole should decide about this building that so much is a reflection of this country and represents this country. And so I would like to think we'll enter a world soon where that can happen again, because that is supposed to happen.
I think it should be noted that if people are thinking, well, there was a commission, one of the commissions approved it. Yeah, because he fired everybody else. There was a mix of people with all manner of expertise and put in people that are loyal to him. So what are they going to do? What are they going to do? And that's not to say you couldn't appoint people who support you politically, but there were people who have certain levels of expertise. Let's have some expertise and have a real discussion among the people on the board about what should happen.
Yeah, because right from when we first started talking about this, I was the one who said, well, when I found out we were having basically barbecues on the lawn under tents, that maybe we do need a ballroom or something of this sort, but not something that towers over the White House, which is what the latest plan is. Well, finally, Richard Grenell is out at the Kennedy Center, ending a turbulent tenure, with the board voting this week to shut the institution down for 2 years. Does it even need a director? Well, their new director is a man who has been the vice president of operations since the Biden administration. So essentially, after July 4th, it will remain in operation until July 4th. It will close, and I think we need to be very mindful of what happened to the White House as we pay attention to what's happening at the Kennedy Center, because there have been hints by the president saying he will take it down to the steel that this is something that could completely be re-gutted. So far they're saying only heating and seating systems need to be replaced, but he also said that the East Wing renovation would not have something that was out of context with the White House, and we see how that went.
I mean, isn't this also just potentially a big distraction from the fact that so many artists just opted out of performing at
they lost so much money,
right?
Yes.
And so then it's like, okay, well, that's fine. I feel like the messaging is like, well, that's fine, we have to fix this place anyway. And so it's really to cover up maybe the potential humiliation one might feel when they're in that position and finds out that nobody wants to play at their house.
I just want to point out that Grenell was appointed by the president and is a big supporter of the president, but his attitude and his public comments have been nasty, and that's saying it lightly to both the artists he was interacting with and the staff members, particularly some of whom were laid off in all of this turmoil, and that just seemed to me to be unnecessary. Okay, you're the head of the thing now. Can we just civilly have some discussions about this? So here we are at the Kennedy Center that the president would like to be the Trump Kennedy Center, and I'm with you, Jared. I don't know what happens now. 2.5 years is a long time.
Well, and I really, really, really hope people are paying attention, especially in Washington, where they can easily be there and have eyes on it, because shutting this down on July 4th for construction is the equivalent of a Friday news drop, where you expect nobody is going to see what's happening. If you do this around the 4th of July holiday and start construction or demolition right after, you're counting on people being on vacation, not paying attention. I really hope that that is not going to be the case with this as well. Well, let's talk quickly about a little misunderstanding, I think, that Kevin Hart has had, or misapprehension that Kevin Hart has had, because he found a life-like statue of himself, a wax statue that has him waxing profane. Basically, we love to talk about these, when these wax museums create renditions of celebrities, and then the celebrities or other people think that does not look like that celebrity, right? So if you're watching on our GBH News YouTube channel, we were just putting it up there. You can see the real Kevin Hart alongside the wax Kevin Hart. We'll try to put that up again for people. So he was. Yeah,
it's
he wasn't
ridiculous.
happy. Although I have to say, this one isn't as bad as some.
Oh,
others.
yes, it is. It's ridiculous.
This does not look anything at all like him.
No. They couldn't even get the skin color correct, which is the same thing that happened to Dwayne Rock Johnson, and he commented on it. Could y'all at least get my skin color right? And here we are. Also, I want to point out that the wax statue looks like it's taller than Kevin. Anybody that knows Kevin knows he's not tall. My favorite comment about this is from someone who said, "This is what you get when you order your wax figure off Temu." Love that.
Well, it's been fun to see how that goes and see what they have to say about it. Well, it's time for a weekend preview now with a rundown of the arts and culture events we're looking forward to. Callie, what's yours?
Oh, I can't say enough about Suffs being in town.
We were both there on opening night.
We were, and this is my third time seeing it in some iteration, and it is fantastic. I mean, it's so good. I got to give a shout out to Maya Kelleher and Danielle Fulton. They play both Alice Paul and Ida B. Wells, respectively, but the entire cast are singers. They really can sing. And the book is so fantastic, and you will walk away saying to yourself, wow, I didn't know that. And it's true. It's all she did. She based Shana Tao based this on history, like actual facts. So it's really wonderful. I urge people to go see it.
We should mention it's playing at the Emerson Colonial Theater, presented by Broadway in Boston. I think it's here for about another week and a half. Yes. I couldn't agree more. It's fabulous.
Well, this weekend, there's something going on at High Street Place, and it's a dance party called Home by Midnight. And essentially, it's basically what it sounds like. It's a dance party that starts at 6 p.m. And this is part of a growing trend over the last couple of years, where there have been like early dance parties for people who still want to party but need to, have lives and have to get up early the next morning. Actually, Early Bird Dance Party was started a couple years ago, I think based out in Chicago or Michigan or Minnesota. I'm getting I forget now. But their tagline was a dance party for ladies with ish to do in the morning. And so you can see that this trend is really taking off. And I love seeing that there are these other venues that are taking it up. So that's happening tomorrow night.
Is this a trend, or is this just Boston?
No,
it's
a trend. National.
Remember when Jamie Lee Curtis said she'd go out more if stuff started at, 6?
And I'm not decrying it at all, because I would love it to start at 4 so I could be home by 8.
I'm on your page.
That would be my idea of a party. But let's be honest. In this town, if you try to go out anywhere at 10 o'clock, you see the tumbleweeds just rolling into bars and clubs.
It's true. Though I have to give a shout out to the Lennox. I was actually there Wednesday after Suffs until 11:30, being all grown and stuff.
Good for you.
And you weren't the only one there?
No, it was full, by the way.
Wait a minute. This just means that you haven't been out in a really long time that late.
I was hoping to move the show along before any of you could say this, because I was thinking it.
You're like, when I go to bed, that means everything else is shut down. I see.
Why is that not true? You have to explain this to me. So I want to talk about something that is going to keep me out past 8 o'clock tonight, which is Song of the Earth. This is presented by Boston Lyric Opera, and this is very significant. First of all, it's based on Mahler's Song of the Earth, and it's a very poignant piece that he wrote toward the end of his life, when he knew that there wasn't much life left. He had just lost his daughter, he had lost a professional position, he had gotten this horrible heart diagnosis, but at the same time, he expresses how he thirsted for life. So as sad as this may sound, this is a man who is enjoying every last breath and second and beauty of life. Song of the Earth. So this has been adapted into this new opera. Anne Bogart, the renowned Anne Bogart, is directing. This is at Boston Lyric Opera tonight. It is playing through March 29th, but it opens tonight. And the reason it's exceptionally significant is because they're also opening their new space. It's called the BLO's Opera and Community Studios. This is in the Fort Point. So they have been working toward this, as we have seen with this opera company. They're itinerant. They're always performing at different venues, which is exciting, but now they have a home of their own. So that launches tonight and plays again through March 29th.
That's really cool. I love seeing the Fort Point still holding on to its arts roots.
I do too, but I love to see it during the day.
Yeah.
Tune in Monday for Amari Paris Jeffries of Embrace Boston. Plus, as I was just discussing, Boston Lyric Opera is opening both a new show and a new space tonight. I'll talk with the BLO's chief, Bradley Vernatter, and the woman leading this adaptation of Song of the Earth, famed director Anne Bogart. Again, that's Monday on the show. Callie, what's coming up on Under the Radar?
We're talking about Women's History Month, and State Senate President Karen Spilka has a fantastic exhibit in her office hours today, every Friday, that anyone from the public can go see. All of these women in history connected to Massachusetts, many I did not know at all. It's her third iteration of doing it. Also coupled with Freddie Kay, who is the head of the Women's History Center online. And so they're talking about all these women whose names you never heard of them. There's a bunch of them. Also, the second half of the show, yay, Mfanisa Udafia is back with the 7th iteration of the 9-play cycle known as the Ufat family cycle.
Oh,
I'm excited.
Good.
Freddie Kay was just at Tufts the other night, too. Everybody was there.
Everybody was
very
there.
exciting.
Oh, I wasn't.
Kelly, always great to be with you. Cristina Quinn, thank you. Again, journalist
Likewise.
and GBH alum. Thanks for being with us today. And thank you for listening to another edition of The Culture Show. Special thanks to Henry Santoro for curating our Culture Cast. Today's engineer is Bill Piacitelli. The BPL technical and logistics crew, Maddie Geyer, Bill Francis, Sandra Lopez-Burke, Juan Jose Cadena, Chris Hanks, and Pat Lally. Also thanks to the Newsfeed Cafe. Thank you to everyone who came down here to be with us today. Callie, stop. If you can't keep up with us on the radio, check out our podcast. I'm Jared Bowen. Have a great day.
The Culture Show is made possible in part by a generous contribution from the Fiducia Fund, proud to support this station's arts and culture programming.
Where's Mary? Where is she? Where is she? She's just about to close up the library.
GBH's All Things Considered is coming up this afternoon at 4, with Marketplace at 6:30. But first, get a global view of the news with The World. Up next, here on GBH 89.7.
Support for our programs comes from you.
And members of the GBH Champions and Beacon Circles. These most generous annual contributors lead the way in sustaining GBH as a public media resource available and free to all. Learn more at gbh.org/support.
A new documentary shines a light on how